Hey, what's happening? What's happening? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Hope. We're here. It's another opportunity for us to grow and learn and get better. We hope you guys had a good week and played with some of the concepts that you learned, practiced, grew your business, generated some revenue, and came ready to improve your game and get better. Tonight's class is going to get real interesting because we want to tap into, continue to tap into what we talked about last week's, and that's basics, and give you some groundwork and ground rules regarding the basics. So without further ado, let's get started. First slide is Back to Basics, Volume 2. So, I want to double down on the basics again because there is no real advanced study. That's a myth because everything is a piggyback on the basic. So if you break all of the knowledge that we teach down, most of it is basic information. The question is, can basic information be challenging? Does basic equal easy? A lot of times we think something basic is rudimentary, it's elementary, like give me the hard shit. But basics is what you want to master. All advanced studies is just a master of the basics. So we got to get good at the basics. Next slide. Here's why. The basics can make you millions. The basics can make you millions or more. You got to understand, most of this stuff is not rocket science. It's mastering the basics. Last week's conversation and some of this week's commitment, discipline, being all in, focus. It's the basics. It's words you hear that fly over your head that a person who's all in has a heightened sense of awareness and says, out of all the words in the English dictionary that this person can say, they chose to use that word. I wonder why. Like, have you thought about that? If you've been coming to Hope for a while, months, maybe years, and as entrepreneurs that are in the game, and we do this every single day, and we volunteer our time to come here on Wednesday nights to try to give as much game as we can, because the goal is for you guys to accelerate your progress. So if we're sitting back thinking, what thing can we say tonight that can help accelerate your progress? Have you ever thought about that? And if this person decides to say something super simple like, go to the gym. What? You go to the gym? But if you look at the context behind the statement, go to the gym, that two brothers, without even knowing each other, would say the same thing, right? And if they are performing at a level that some people aspire to, and they say, yeah, you should probably go to the gym. You should go to the gym. The context question behind that is, okay, they come down and volunteer their time away from moving their business and spending time with their family. And why would they say go to the gym? It got to be something to that. It has to be. Right? Because this is all we got, this time we have, and that this time we have to share with you guys, because work and time and business and running and families is wild. So the dedication and the commitment to this these 3 hours to try to compress and condense and give you the heat to take with you to go make something happen with, why would we pick the gym? See what I'm saying? Why would we pick certain basic things that I hear all the time? Why would I would expect some things to be advanced, but the context question is, there has to be something to that then. Why would they pick that? See what I'm saying? Why would two people who don't look at each other's slides say the same things? Got to be something to that. So a lot of us, the fact that they're basic, we allow them to fly over our head and go up under our feet. But that's the stuff. That's the stuff that makes millions. That's the stuff that businesses are built on, that we've built our business on, the basics. Why would somebody spend a Wednesday night sitting up here saying, how can I serve you? I heard that from McDonald's. Got to be something to that, right? And that's the questions you want to ask. There's no filler. There's no filler information to be like, all right, so I got 3 nuggets tonight, but I got an hour and a half. So fuck it. I'm just going to fill the rest up with hella basic, regular shit. No. And you got us. Like, you got it. You got us. You caught us. Next slide.
Know thyself. Step out of your delusion. Most humans overestimate what they can do in any situation. Stay away from his right hand and you can win.
Okay, so there's so many nuance to know thyself. I heard somebody quote this. They were talking about something like, yeah, so know thyself. And I was like, yo, know thyself is so deep. And the reason why this is so difficult, this basic is so difficult, is because most of us overestimate what we can do in any situation. So we have bias. Real know thyself comes with accurate truth, objective truth about a situation, using options, probabilities, and all the laws of nature. If you don't include those 3 in your know thyself, you bullshitting yourself. It don't even work. Because again, it's natural for us to overestimate what we can do in any situation. This is a lifelong practice. Stay away from his right hand. And here's another basketball analogy, and that's this. If you want to do your best to guard against great players, there's no amount of confidence. There's no amount of motivation. There's no amount of pumping yourself up. There's no amount of anything you can do to guard or contain or stop a great player without knowing yourself. And the best people who are really good at know thyself is professional athletes, because their business, their lifeblood is built on data. They know their numbers. They know their shooting percentage. They know their batting ERA. They know how fast they run 100 meter. It's clocked. And they know who runs faster than them, and they know who runs slower than them. So they're steeped in reality. So if you say, "Oh, you run a 440," what would you have to do to run a 430? A professional athlete can tell you, because their job is steeped in reality. But the average human, we overestimate. We overestimate what we could do. We invented this thing because of that, called imposter syndrome, right? Can you do that? Can you do that? Yes, I could do it. My resume says I can do it. You get the job, and now you're like, oh shit, right? I overestimated what I can do. Now I don't know what the fuck to do. You know how many Reddit threads are that? Hey, I bullshitted my way to this job, and now I don't know what to do. How do you do IT? Okay. You, know thyself knowing thyself comes with knowing you have blind spots. Important. Knowing thyself comes with knowing where your weaknesses are. Knowing thyself comes with knowing where your addictions are. Knowing thyself knows where there's places where you don't have self-control or discipline. Knowing thyself knows where your strengths are. And you operate in that space with as much stoicism and logic as possible. That's how you get there. That's how you get there. So to stay away from the right hand and you can win means if you're coming up against a great player and your ego says, I can stop him. And he blows past you. And he blows past you again. You have to start thinking. Come up with better strategy. What's the better strategy? He blew past me this way every single time. Let me guard him to his left. See if he got a left hand. And you look for weaknesses in their game. You don't keep trying to bump your head against the same flaw that your overconfidence tells you that you can get over with more motivation. A lot of us fall in this regard. A lot of us fall. So as an entrepreneur, know thyself is one of the fundamental things that you can do. Fundamental. Got to know yourself. And I'm talking every detail. It's a lifelong journey of understanding yourself. And here's a cool part about know thyself. Your 20-year-old self is going to be different than your 30-year-old self. 30 is going to be different than 40. 40 is going to be different than 50.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
In regards to this slide, I find it very refreshing to go over the basics because I haven't mastered a single one of them. And I'm working on it. But when I see the slide, I think about, I have a feeling, it's an assumption, but I have a feeling that I have a pretty good idea of knowing myself. What I think that I struggle with, along with a lot of other people, is accepting myself. And can we talk towards what the difference is between being aware of who you are, what you think, what motivates you, versus embracing and accepting it? Because I think that there could be gray areas in that.
So accepting it. So what are the hindrances that come with non-acceptance of yourself?
Well, I think back to one of the classes where you were talking about self-love, self-acceptance, like those key pillars that you needed to have to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in my highest power, when I'm well slept, well fed, exercised, and all of the stars align, I'm a very insightful person. Most of the time, that is not an accurate statement. So if you ask me something in the prime hours of my existence, you'd be like, boy, she's sharp. If you ask me something past 9 a.m., you're going to be like, she's a dimwit because my brain doesn't function, right? Mm-hmm. So I think with some of the potential hindrances, I'll say for myself are, I know I have optimal hours. I know the things that I'm afraid of or that get me emotionally caught up. Part of the acceptance for me is I know it, but I don't want to accept it. So then I might gaslight myself into thinking I'm further along than what I am. Or I might try something that I know potentially might be too much of a stretch. Or I might position myself to do something that I know I'm not ready for yet. And I think that it happens a lot because there's a lot of things in our culture that say like fake it till you make it, or, you know, push yourself, stretch yourself, or if you're not dreaming big, like all them little corny sayings. But when the pedal hits the road, it's kind of like, where do we lift the veil to say like, okay, this is what it looks like to stretch growth, and then this is what it means to like actually be real with yourself, so you give yourself the fair opportunity to like have empathy and still grow. I don't know if that's making sense.
Yeah, so this is where what I'm gathering from it is that know thyself is gathering data. It's intelligence. And intelligence gets corrupted with any kind of emotion. So once you bleed emotion into data, then it distorts the data. Mm-hmm. Know thyself is actually saying, what is the specific objective truths about you in this situation? All the other shit that happens after that, mm-hmm. if you know yourself well enough, then you know how to navigate through it. At whatever stage in life you're in. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the beauty of know thyself. Mm-hmm. Any stage that you're in, you can increase the probability of success by knowing what you're working with. Mm-hmm. What am I working with in this situation? So if you're, and I'm going to, so if you are, if you're a great wrestler and the other person is a great power puncher, are you going to try to go toe to toe with power punches, or are you going to get them on the ground? You know how many people get knocked out in boxing by allowing their ego to let them think that they can compete with somebody who's a known power puncher, and they get knocked the fuck out. It's not an easy thing. But sticking to the script and knowing yourself, you're thinking, I'm trying to get this person to the ground where I'm at my strengths. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because knowing thyself gives you the data you need. If you're running the marathon and I'm running a marathon, right? I'm 6'2", you're 5'1", right? Yeah. How many steps does it take for me to reach the end of the marathon? How many steps? Say it's 30,000. Knowing thyself says it's going to take me 60,000 steps or 50,000, because for every one step, it's probably 2 steps for me. So if I want to beat him, I have to have this kind of rhythm and this kind of pace. I can't stretch my legs. I can't grow taller. That's off the table. But giving myself the data, I know myself. I know what I got to do. So the beauty of know thyself kills life ain't fair. Kills it.
How?
Because once you know yourself, you have a goal. Once you know yourself, now you have the data. Now you can come up with strategy on getting there. Gives a fuck about what you have and they don't have it. I have a goal. Let me spread out my tools and see what I'm working with. Period. Let me spread out my tools. So here we go.
I didn't push the button. We're good on the play. No flag.
You feel what I'm saying?
It's under review, but just a warning.
Flagrant foul call.
Just a warning.
But you get where I'm going? It's you can come up with strategy based on whatever cards is in your hand at this point. You still get to your goal. In business, if you say, well, I was raised poor and I was this and that. Okay, well, let me lay out what I have and let me find strategy to get there. Still, I was raised in a wealthy family. Let me lay out what I have and my strategy to get there. I was raised middle class. I was raised in an orphanage. It don't fucking matter. I have a goal. Let me lay out what I have. Let me and know exactly how to use my strengths and weaknesses to my advantage and get in the game and get to the end. That's how you play. Most people say, well, I don't have the resources you got. So this gives me the reason to pout. Knowing myself and knowing I'm this gives me reason to sit in a corner and cry. Versus truly understanding what your true strengths and true weaknesses are. So powerful. So powerful. Like some of you guys don't even realize the strengths that you have because you're so busy paying attention to the weaknesses that you have in comparison to other people, and you overestimate what you can do. You overestimate what you can do. And it's human nature. You're not different than most humans. From the 40-year-old NBA player who wants to start and play the whole game to the 80-year-old grandmother who wants to live by herself still and keep falling and refuses to get help. It's across the board. Knowing thyself says, I know when to go, I know when to stop, I know when to sit down, I know when to get help. Overestimating what you can do, I could do it all by myself. I got it. I could do it all by I can handle it. You handle it, trying to handle everything because you overestimated what you can do. Versus, I get tired around 4 p.m. every day. I'm my best self at 9:48 a.m. every day. So guess what? I'm going to put the bulk of my work at 9:48. I'm going to take a nap at 4 o'clock.
Amen.
What?
I wish.
Why are you always going to sleep at 4 o'clock? I know myself. So this is huge. This is a huge fundamental. It's huge basic. It sounds hella basic, but this can have a dramatic impact on how you move. You don't gotta be fast. You don't have to be fast. To be in the NBA, you don't have to be fast. You just have to know yourself. You got to know where your strengths are and lean on your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. Work on them in the background, but minimize your weaknesses and lean on your strengths. Be where your strengths are. Work on your weaknesses in the background. Minimize them. Get help where you're weak. But if you too egotistical, if you too emotional, if you overvalue what you do, then you can't even see it. It's all blurry. It's all blurry. It makes sense? We good online?
Yep.
Next slide.
How do we know we need to repeat teaching something? By the feedback loop. You can't move to the next stage without it. So the strategy is to repackage so you can digest it. So
you caught us. And mind you, I wrote all this. I wrote this early, bro.
That's crazy.
So do we teach the same shit? Yes, we do. We absolutely do. And like this slide says, it's the feedback loop. It's the feedback loop. It's the feedback loop allows us, it gives us the understanding to say, we can't go on without this step being ingrained and embedded into the psychology of the people we're trying to teach. So we got to do this again. So instead of teaching it the same way, I'm going to repackage it. I'm going to try this way. Maybe it gets in like this. Maybe it gets in like this. Maybe we're going to keep trying until it's locked in and we know it's locked in. That's the feedback loop. And the feedback loop is questions that we get from you guys. Hey, have you I got a question. I'm having an issue, and if the issue is something that we've dove into heavily, instead of blaming you, I say, damn, something I'm doing is not right. The way I'm delivering this isn't right. Not getting it. So let me try another way. Because we got to get this basic. Fucking got to get it. Because when you get it, it's going to change you. And here's a dope part is the people who do get it, we get that feedback loop too. And they're excited as fuck. And they're excited to share it in the moment where it worked and the impact it had on their business. So we're like, yeah, shit felt good, huh? Yup. Because this happened, and then we applied this, and then this happened. Dope. So it's not like we don't know it works because we practice it. But the ones when the light bulb does go off, and they apply it, and they do it, and they try it, and they purpose it for what they do, man, that's the feedback loop too. So this comes from a place of absolute love. Like, we love the hell out of y'all. Or we wouldn't be here. And the goal is, I don't want to waste my time sitting here talking every week just like Nana don't. So I want to be as impactful as possible. And the feedback loop says, all right, we know these things are fundamental to entrepreneurial thinking. And if either the people don't get it, it goes over their heads, they don't think it's important, or they don't think it works, we got to repurpose and repackage it because you can't leave home without it. Next slide.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So let's say that you're in this class and you're feeling some type of way about the repackaged message. You and Nana can answer this, but I'm an OG Hoper and I get a lot out of the class. But I sometimes feel like I want more truth out of my experience with the members of the class, like ownership, like how are you applying it? Like, what are you really getting out of it? Like, can we have conversations about things? Just autonomy over the experience. And I find that when you do something for a long period of time and it becomes repetition, it's really easy to make it like a church ritual. Like, this is a cool, safe space. Everyone's cool. You know, everyone's trying to do some positive stuff. It's a lot better than most of the places you can go to spend your night on a Wednesday night. But as a business owner, I'm coming here because time is my most valuable resource and I need iron to sharpen iron. And it's really challenging to do that when the buy-in and the practice doesn't feel the same across the board. Like what, let's say we're talking about basics. What do you tell somebody when you're like, I keep repackaging this basic because the masses of the people that are taking this class aren't getting it? What, as a teacher or as an entrepreneur in general, are you expecting, like, from people? Like, what does that practice look like, or what is the expectation? Or just because I feel like it's just so easy to do something for so long to forget. And I think like realignment is a very helpful thing, especially when you're in a space of leadership and often you're the one that's being looked to have answers.
I think first is understanding the mindset, right? We talk about this mindset at the beginning of every year, and we've been talking about it from the gate, that this is an entrepreneurship class. It's not an employee focused class. It's an entrepreneurship class. So entrepreneurship class is like playing in the pros. That's why we use a lot of pro illustrations, because it's the closest thing that we can describe. Because your lifestyle is going to be different. Your habits are going to be different. Your disciplines is going to be different. Your day-to-day is going to be different. On Christmas, you're probably going to be playing on Christmas night. Like, you're going to be traveling. Like, there's certain things that you experience that the rest of the world don't. And we got to get comfortable with that mindset at the beginning. You can't be out partying, wilding out, fucking up your reputation. So it's just the way it is. There's certain things you can't do. And that's part of the sacrifice of being an entrepreneur, that hopefully for you will lean on the reward side. So like that's part of the, we joke about it. We talk serious about it. We say, hey, the poodle class is down the hall, and the entrepreneur class here. We talk about the dog and the wolf. Like, we package it heavily in a way for you to understand that this is the serious shit. This is the stuff that is not average. You got the military and you got the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers. These are two different. You got the civilian. You got the Army cadet, and you got the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers. It's it's a complete different level. Two different levels, and it sometimes looks the same, but it sure ain't. Because the job got to get done. And it's higher level of training. And the training is so intense that you could die. Because it puts you in situations where you fucking might. And you're not ready. If, like, there's no awards and like, oh, I like you, you can get in. You make it or you don't. And if you don't, go home. And that's the premise behind it. That's why we're not using marketing. Well, I think beyond that, we're going to talk next week heavily, because next week's going to be a feedback class. And we want to hear feedback from all of you guys. Hopefully next week we get as many people in the classroom as possible, and as many people online, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear your feedback. And I think beyond that, I think we both collectively would love to hear feedback from the group about the class, about what they're learning, about all of this, about the repetition, the repackaging. But this comes with a premise. You said church, right? Is there a new book? Like, what do churches teach from?
The Bible.
Is there a new book once they get through to the end? No? So when you get to the end, can you stop going to church if you're a Christian? No, what do you got to do? Back to Genesis.
Back to the beginning.
Then when you get through it again, what do? Back to Genesis? Is there ever a time where you like, man, we went back to Genesis like 48 times. I think I'm done. No, back to Genesis again, because it's a lifelong thing. What happens when you stop? If you're a Christian, what happens when you stop going to church? You start doing the Michael Jackson.
Wait, what aspect? Backslide, y'all.
You moonwalking that bad.
If you're a Muslim, and you have certain rituals that you have to do, that you have to follow, whether that's praying continuously throughout the day, whether that's a certain diet you have to eat, whatever that is, what happens when you stop reading the Quran and stop practicing? You backslide. That's how this shit go. You don't ever get to the end. Knowledge is not power. If that was the case, if whoever's been Christian for 15, 20, 30 years, y'all be perfect right now. But because of our humanness and our imperfections, we got to keep reading, going back, going back, going back, going back, going back. That's how life works. But you expect entrepreneurship to be different? When entrepreneurship is a high level spiritual practice. Floyd Mayweather. Has he ever got to a point where he don't have to do shadow boxing and do this before fights? Do sit-ups and back to it's basics. Does Floyd Mayweather at his 49th fight practice and work out in ways no one ever seen before because he's so advanced? No, he doing the shit he did when he was 15. Basics. The Steph Curry, you ever watch his practice? I've been to a private practice with Steph Curry, watching this dude do shit that we teach 4-5-year-old kids to do. But the difference is people love the basics. Love the basics. Certain group of people love the basics. And the other group is like, yeah, I know that already. Teach me something new. I know that. When you fall in love with the basics and you really immerse yourself in the basics, the next levels appear. They show up. They show up. The minute you stop fucking with the basics, we, as humans, the fallibleness of humans, the minute you stop adopting the basics, drift happens. You revert to the mean. That's how our brains are. I mean, is there anybody out there who's been married a long time? 15, 20 years? Do you all of a sudden adopt these futuristic ways of being in relationships, or is staying in good relationship with someone for long periods of time just a repeat of the basics? Date night. We follow these 3 simple rules. Basics. Basics. Anybody save money? Anybody have saved some significant amount of money over time? Is it some new age, Forex, new kind of bullshit that allowed you to save that money? Or is it just making a little bit more than you spend and putting that away and doing it again, nothing special, doing it again. And a year later, 2 years later, 3 years, 5 years later, you look at your bank account and be like, damn. Basics. All of this is basics. All of it's basics. Drilling that in. So if you're not practicing basics, then none of the other stuff works. Next slide.
The power of again versus teach me something new.
Now, it's not only about basics, it's about drilling the basics in. Doing it again. Trying again. Practicing it again. Doing it again. Reading it again. Doing it again. Reading it again. If you don't use it, you will lose it. So the basics have to be practiced and tried and looked at new angles. And let me look at it this angle and this angle. Let me look at it upside down. And so like the basics have to be continuously tried and played with and executed with all the time. We never get to let up. It's a life you chose. You never get to let up. Like there's a bright side to the other side. You can go to school, you can get a job and excel at that job, and you ain't got to do all this. You don't got to do all this. But This side, it requires more of you. It requires way more of you. And it's a lifelong journey that you have to be on. Is it worth it to you? But here's the thing, what you can't do, you can't minimize it. You can't mind your way into making it something what it's not. You can't. And a lot of people tried to do that, especially in the last 10 years. Like, I'm going to make entrepreneurship this. Only the customers that I like are going to show up. Everything is going to work out perfectly for me. Like, you have to grow. You have to get stronger than the gravity of entrepreneurship. And it's going to take lots of growth on your part. You got to grow. And that shit don't feel good sometimes. It ain't fun sometimes. It's stressful sometimes. But entrepreneurship has its own gravity. And you have to continue to work on yourself, the basics, and continue to expand your learning so that you can show up to it in a way that makes you effective and powerful. So why would I want to learn something new if I ain't mastered the basics? And if I've got a good grasp on the basics, man, please, what's next? What's next? What's next? And so the way we teach, we're teaching to all the levels in this class. There are some millionaires in this class. And there are some people who are just starting out. And there are some people who haven't even made the jump to entrepreneurship yet, but they know that this is the path that they are considering and want to take. So the rhythm in how we teach is we're trying to give the knowledge to all those people who need it in those moments. But don't be so quick to teach me something new. Some shit, it may take you 3-4 years to get right in one concept. One of these concepts, if you haven't mastered, can change the trajectory of your business. It could change the lens of your business. One of these. Just take the know thyself one. Change the trajectory. It's hard to get caught slipping when you know your blind spots, you know your strengths and weaknesses. It's hard. It's better. You can come up with better strategy to know exactly how many miles you have to go and where all the potholes are and the weakness in your vehicle. So, no, it's just like any practice. Any practice. Any practice. How many people hop from new diet to new diet? This new diet comes out, I'm jumping on it. This new diet comes out, I'm jumping on it. Because the basics, fruits, vegetables, meats, that's too boring. So now you're being pulled in the wind by anybody who can dangle something new in front of you. Talk to somebody who's been fit for 60 years. They didn't have that fancy shit back then. What was you eating? They didn't even have internet. Social, they didn't have none of that. They didn't have the technology that we had even in the 80s, and they managed to eat in a way and move their bodies in a way that they were at their peak. Like, that's what you're looking for. Not saying you're not always reading and educating yourself on technology. It's you are looking for the power of again over teach me something new. Some of us will kill something that's working just because it's not new. Next slide.
Real quick, let me say something real quick. Isn't it crazy that somebody will say, I don't need the basics. Doesn't that go along with like the slide, know thyself? You don't see yourself. Most human beings, know thyself is also contextual. So it's tied to the world around you, right? So for example, say you grew up in the hood and you went to a hood school. Like the one of the biggest areas of racism is hood schools versus rich neighborhood schools. The contrast is night and day experience. Education is night and day. So say you go to a hood school and you're a high performer and you're acing the classes. But if you went to Harvard tomorrow, you're a D performer, right? So know thyself is relative to what environment I'm playing in, right? I'm in a corporate job and I'm the highest performance there. Know thyself says, if I leave corporate America, will I also have a high performance as an entrepreneur or another company? I think I would be comfortable with comments around the basics if folks show me huge income surges, like the income was surging and they're moving, they're growing, and they're like, hey, listen, Nana, doing 2 or 3 million a year, can we step it up, right? Cool. Even though if you listen to the people doing 2 or 3 million, for example, if you read Charlie Munger's, one of his last books he wrote, he's just giving an advanced version of the basics. His whole book, if you sit there and go through his whole book, and that's all his book is like, my last recommendations before I pass away. Here's some things you should know as a person in the market, trying to be a leader, how to try to be an entrepreneur. Here's some basic things you should know. And what you'll discover is that the arrogance and the ego of the person assume that they have arrived. It's crazy. Crazy. And really the only way you're going to know that is you got to put yourself, the only way you're going to actually know if you're actually commanding the basics, you can't see it. Others can see you, but you can't see it. So you have to go to others and say, hey, listen, here's my list of basics. How well am I performing in these areas? How many times have we been in this class and students have sat in here and say, hey, how well am I running the basics? Nobody does. And then when they have conversations with us, the gaps in their basics is so huge. It is almost like ego's an enemy, right? I don't know about you, bro. I got like 50% of it. And I know that book like the back of my hand, but I know that's a constant work in progress. Ego's an enemy. Because there's times when I thought I get caught up in some whirlwind of thoughts and realize that's just my ego going wild. And you need people like I have you and Mashama to say, yo, what you doing? And I go, God damn, you're right. I didn't see that. How the fuck would I ever claim I know myself or I'm past the basics or I got this ego thing down? Right? Like I don't even understand. I really also too this entrepreneurship, and I'll put this later on, is counterintuitive to rational thinking. I'll say this real quick. Richard Thaler did this game where he says, okay, estimate, there's a room full of people. He said, estimate a number between 0 to 100. And that if all of us came up with a number, that number will fit, that will be the number will fall 2/3 between 0 and 100, estimate a number. So the natural number would have been 0 mathematically. But because of the diversity of human beings, the actual number was 11. Because human beings don't have a perfect estimate or rationalization. So when you're moving amongst human beings and everybody's thinking different ways, and diversity and different ways of approaching things, rational thinking sometimes causes your biggest failure. And if you don't know that shit. So a lot of times if the basics are giving you tools and insights on how to see things beyond the rational thinking, how the way you formulate ideas. Last point, when Wall Street started hiring scientists, so Wall Street at one point was pretty much street hustlers from New York. Street hustlers from New York. If you don't know that, Wall Street wasn't started by scientists and college educated. It was hustlers from New York. And then they brought in MBAs to create some complexity around it to make it sound sexy in the 80s. But at some point, they decided to bring in scientists in the 90s who were able to bring math and science, all these elements to it. And what they discovered is these people, although they were mathematically extremely intelligent, they were horrible at solving everyday problems. Is that crazy? Mathematically brilliant. And they said that the MBAs and they would have good the MBAs had horrible conversations. They said, but the scientists would have great conversations. They just didn't know what the fuck they was doing. So a lot of times people think that this your rational thinking, what's in your head and how you see the math and the equation is the same way you move in the world. And know thyself is saying, I know how you think, but do you see how you move? One is smart and one's looking kind of ignorant.
That's real. It's real.
There's a question online.
Question online. What's up?
Kaja says, I think this is part of the issue that some could sit here all the time thinking they're at one place with the basics and are far off. Where is the assessment space to understand you don't quite have it?
Bank account, your body, your friends, your love relationships, your level of happiness. Straight up. Straight up.
Can you repeat those one more time?
He dropped the. Hey, I think somebody should rewind. That shit was so. Look, hold on, man. That's one of the most Denzel Washington lines.
It's the real. That's your feedback loop.
Yeah.
We all have a feedback loop. If I think I am the most lovable person in the world, but I got no friends, my feedback loop tells me I don't know thyself. My brain is telling me, no, but you're a good guy. But I don't know myself because obviously I'm fucking up. So your feedback loop. If you out gallivanting around as an entrepreneur talking all this entrepreneurship shit and at the end of the year you've generated no revenue, your feedback loop, your personal feedback loop says you fucked up. Period. So that's the objective truths that we have to really put in front of our face. We have to have those mirrors in front of us all the time. All the time. Once you're comfortable having those mirrors around you all the time, then it's easy to be an objective truth with yourself. Hey, this is that real. There's no money in the account. There's no friends. I can't find a partner. My health is at serious risk because I can't stop eating. I can't get to the gym. My brain's telling me I'm there. I saw a girl today at the gym like this.
That don't even matter.
That's your girlfriend, Josh.
So I'm like, why did you come? You could have just stayed at home. But her brain and her mind, she's getting it.
Okay.
And a lot of us entrepreneurs just like that. And then be like, how come it ain't working?
Can I also add to that real quick? Because I like this. Fuck it. Hey, man, look. Or you hang around a lot of weak motherfuckers who are not entrepreneurs and looking for entrepreneur feedback. You won't even come to a real entrepreneur and ask a real motherfucking question and hear the truth because you don't feel like you're good enough. So you're fragile as fuck because you ain't figured out how to conquer your weaknesses. You're coping with your weaknesses. And so when you in the face of an entrepreneur, you shrink yourself and then you find all these weak people around you that be like, oh my God, you're doing amazing. Oh, you fame. Oh my God, wish I was you. Oh my, you winning. You online looking for accolades and likes and shit. And the reality is that you haven't got real world feedback. Real world feedback is motherfuckers who are performing who can really see you. Because the challenge with entrepreneurs is that unfortunately most people can't see what the difference between an entrepreneur and a fakepreneur, right? Like most people can't see the difference. And so you need people around you who can be like, yo, I hear what you're saying, but I can tell by the way you talking, your numbers are fucked up. Come on, man.
Straight up.
So that's another thing. That's why, because I've seen that before where people will tell me, yo, I got these, I'm getting feedback from people. I'm like, from who? Like I remember one time, this is like the third year I taught this class, and somebody said in class, we should have events where we all get together. And my wife tapped me on the shoulder. She said, hey, aren't they entrepreneurs? Why don't they just organize it their motherfucking self? Let's talk entrepreneurship. Let's talk. Like that's what entrepreneurs are animals of agency. That means that we wake up in the morning and go, I do it. I'm running this. I control this. And then you literally go, hey, Nana, can you put together something where we can all come together? Oh, I'm sorry. Tone Vic phone number doesn't work if you call them directly? I mean, what the fuck? Call them directly. So it's like, that's the problem I'm having with a lot of this talk is like, I'm not here for soft shit. The reality is this. Entrepreneurship is, you gotta, like I tell my daughter all the time, by default, you're gonna mess up. By default, you're not good. By default, you're gonna have to become better. But you can't live a life of trying to look good while you're learning.
Right.
You gotta look ugly while you're learning. Be comfortable being ugly.
And I say that all the time. All the time. All right, let's play a game. Y'all ready?
Yes.
Online and in here, we gonna play a game. And what I want to do is, I don't want you to blurt out the answers. I want you to write the answers down, and then we're gonna ask at the end, who knows? Okay, but write your answers down at home. Write them down. Here, write them down. If you don't know, just say you don't know, and it's okay. All right. Some of these questions are going to be stuff taught from class this year, some prior years, but we're going to tap into your knowledge base. All right. Question number 1. Next slide. What are incentives? What is it, and how does it play in our world? Got 2 minutes.
I don't know. I'm writing this down. I like it.
Next question. Next slide. How many types of currencies are out there? How many types of currencies can you think of that are at play in our world? Currencies. Is that 2 minutes? Close?
No, I feel like that's long enough for that one.
Next slide. What does the map is not the territory mean? And what are the 4 things that happen when you map reality? Next question. Is generalizing good? Yes or no?
Depends.
Simple one. Next question. What does content versus context mean?
I was just talking about this today.
Next question. What are the five? Oh, what does objective versus subjective reality mean? We got two. And we're going to stop at this last question. Next slide. What are the 5 steps of the entitlement trap? Actually, we only one more. No, we're going to stop here. No, we'll stop here. Because I want to talk about it. So we'll go back to the incentives. We'll go back to the incentives. All right. Now, incentives. What is it and how does it play in our world? Who wants to answer that question? Anybody? Tone Vic.
There's a correct answer, or this is the answers that we are.
It's a correct. There's a correct answer.
Well, I'm probably got it wrong. All right. So I put. You said, what are incentives? What is it, and how does it play in our world? I said, incentives are benefits to an individual or somebody to do something that you may want them to do to get a particular that might benefit them to get a particular outcome or to gain a particular outcome.
That's close, yeah. And how does it play in our entrepreneur world?
I didn't answer that part.
Okay. Anybody online?
Sorry.
Yeah, you have a slight delay when it's online.
Okay. Kasha has some. Incentives are motivators to move you toward a desired outcome.
How does it play in our world? Good. Yep, very close, Kaja. Thank you.
That's all that she answered all of them in the thing.
Okay.
So, Can I tap in on that from my note or no?
Yeah, go ahead, tap in.
Well, so I wrote that incentives are tools that we use for leverage that influence, persuade, or get buy-in from another person to get them to do what we need them to do. And then I think that in the entrepreneur world, you'd be short-stepping yourself not to use incentives because you're trying to get a group of people to align behind a story that benefits you. So leveraging it as a tool to be able to get a whole bunch of people to buy into a made-up story is something that you would be dull of you not to use an incentive. And that can be from compensation plans, creating a story that they can align behind, building an identity and status. Those are all ways that we use them in businesses.
Fucking good job, Shakina. You see why we got to go over the basics? See why we got to go over the basics? This one thing, incentive game. He masterfully taught this shit. Nobody heard of incentives before. Masterfully taught this shit. It was mind-blowing to hear as an entrepreneur. The fuck? Oh, I didn't think about it like that. Oh, I'm writing this shit down. Oh, I'm whooping they ass. Dove deep into it. Immersed myself into it. Now it's part of my language. Because that's what us wolves do. Because I'm thinking, oh, I can grow my company. I can hire more people. I can impact more people. So hell yeah. It's not casual. I want everybody thinking it from that perspective. Like the incentive game. If your child is acting up, your incentive game's whack. If your spouse and you ain't getting on, your incentive game is whack. If your employees are dropping off, incentive game. Your negotiations are failing, incentive game. Like incentives power. They power so much. Your pricing on your products, incentive game. Incentive game. And the reason why the next question is tied close to each other, if you go to the next question, incentives is not always money. Shit is so powerful. From an entrepreneur's perspective, it'll make the hair on my back of my neck stand up because I see dollar signs. I see growth. It ain't casual. Incentive. Yeah.
You understand me?
Fuck that. All right. Currencies. How many types of currencies can you think of and that are at play in our world?
I'm going to read on.
Tone?
I put there's many currencies. I said there's social currency, financial currency, family currency, a respect currency. It's almost like having a measure of worth, value, or respect from yourself and or from others.
Can I go further than that?
Yep.
So with currency, if you study ancient philosophy, you'll find there's deeper human currencies that are for example, the average human being wants to be a hero of their own story. So if you can give them the reward of feeling like a hero, that's a currency, right? Our desire for reproduction is a currency. You get these. You look at a lot of ancient, even biblical, ancient philosophy. They're always mentioning different forms of human currencies. And matter of fact, to this day, some of the biggest campaigns you've ever seen in business have been using those philosophies to drive human behavior. So if you go further into understanding currency, you realize that the heart of all marketing is the mastering of currencies.
Can I?
Next slide. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I wrote, it's anything that humans find valuable. Because it's not a physical or tangible thing. It could be a feeling, an emotion, a thought process, but it's literally anything that we find valuable.
Purpose is a currency.
Like once you understand the currencies that flow through, you can see the currencies that flow through your business. And a lot of times what works and what doesn't work, what currencies you think are valuable and what doesn't. there are certain women out there who they don't want your money. They don't care about your money. You could be an NBA player flashing all the gold, and they can want you so bad, and that's not your currency. And they can't understand why that's not your currency. And instead of focusing on why can't you understand that my Lambo doesn't impress you, they could figure out, well, what is your currency then? Let me transition to that.
Time.
See what I'm saying? Next slide. What does the map is not the territory mean? What does it mean? Hold on, Shakina. Anybody online?
Yes, Kaja answered. Kaja said it means that having direction doesn't take into account unknown factors about the long route.
No.
Along the route, sorry.
No, that's not it. That's not it. Anybody else? Map is not the territory except Shakina?
Hey man, this is basics though?
This is the basics.
Okay, I just want to check.
It's serious.
Just want to check real quick.
But Shakina, what are the 4 things that happen when you map reality? Do you know? Or if you don't, I know, like, you a goer. You're a goer. You immersing yourself into this shit. So that's why I'm excluding you from this game.
Okay.
But 4 things that happen when you map reality. And this shit is so important because that helps you know thyself. 1 is you delete. Can you explain
Reading what I wrote, or just
what the map is not the territory?
So I just wrote the map is not the territory. Just because you see it on paper doesn't mean that it matches. The map is constantly changing, and you can't take a figurative thing and try to apply. So an example, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you can try to do a copy and paste, or see something that somebody else did, or hear a polished highlight story and think that you're going to have a rinse and repeat replication, when that's not the case. There's different factors and variables. There's time, there's luck, there's hard work, there's being in the right place. So the map is not the territory is pretty much boiling it down to, you can't gaslight yourself into thinking that it's ABC. There's no self-help book to getting you to the right place. Everything it's adjustable at the drop of a dime, and you got to be ready to do that and be a lifer and find the people that understand all the nuances.
Can
Right.
I
add to that too?
Yeah, go ahead. Don't.
Go ahead.
I kind of had the same thing, but I also
Man, don't. It's
right there. It's right there. Put the camera on. Put the camera on. It's right
He
there.
said put the camera on it.
It's right there. Come on.
real quick. Yeah, that's what I said right here.
I got it. It's right
Okay,
there.
go ahead.
But I
Go
also,
ahead, Tom.
I also had in quotes. It reminded me of what's that phrase when people be like, "Oh, this is how we always done it," because the map can change, and the territory changes. People that like are stuck with the maps, like they get stuck. You can find yourself getting stuck to a particular way of doing things, it reminds me of the people that be like, well, this is how we've always done it, because they don't believe things can change. So I just wanted to add that to it. Well, I'm not saying that that's what it is. I said it reminded me of that. 'Cause people be like, we've always done it like this.
But you wearing the clean outfit today remind me of the story at Macy's, but that ain't what we're talking about. What the hell? Listen, like map is not. Make it simple. Your theory is not reality. Simple.
True. Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, you have to know that most people you run into 10 times out of 10, their worldview is not reality either.
Yep.
So you're not marketing to their map, to your map. You're marketing to their map, their worldview. Disney doesn't market to reality. They market to the worldview that young girls have about princes. See what I'm saying? Apple didn't market to the worldview. They to the computer industry. They market to the world view of people wanting to bring technology to the ease of their fingertips and make it easier. When they wanted women to work, get into the working world in the early, I want to say 50s and 60s, they marketed their world view of wanting independence. We want to be free. We want our own money. We want to travel the world. We want our own. We could do what our. They marketed to that worldview. So the map is not the territory. You got to understand your map is not the territory, and theirs isn't either. And so to go with what happens is when you try to map reality, the first thing you're going to do is delete, because you can't see every single nuance on the road. You can't. So you're going to delete stuff. You're going to delete it. Second thing you're going to do is you're going to distort it. Have you ever seen a map of the world? And you see how big Africa is? Africa looks the size of the same kind of size as Greenland. But you can fit all the other continents inside Africa. That's how big Africa is. But in our minds and in our schools, we're taught, the Africa is a little bit bigger than the United States. South America is about the same size as Africa. Not realizing you can fit every other continent, including China, inside Africa. Because the map is not the territory. And when you move like that, then it allows you to take steps back and not believe every fucking thing you see. And it makes you a better marketer. This is basic shit that can completely change your business. It can completely change your business. Next slide.
Well, you didn't do 3 and 4.
Oh, sorry. 3 and 4. So 1 and 2 is delete and distort. And then the next one is you generalize. Because if you made an accurate map of the actual territory, you have to make it the exact size of the territory. So you're making it a small version. You're making a small version. So it's not 4 things, it's 3. You delete, distort, and generalize. All right. Next question. Is generalizing good? What we got? Is generalizing good? I got a no here. No?
I think it depends.
It depends. What about online?
Kaja says generalizing, it depends.
2 depends. 2 no's and 2 depends.
Yeah.
All right. So, overgeneralizing is always a problem. As humans, we have to generalize. So generalizing is okay because we have to generalize as humans. Generalizing is okay. And I threw that out there as a trick question because I knew, but we taught the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. We taught the hell out of it. Generalizing is okay because as humans, we're gonna you can't get through the day without generalizing. Yeah. It'd take you all day to get through 5 minutes. So we're generalizing all the time. It's the overgeneralizing that's the problem. Yeah. Next question. What does content versus context mean? Anybody?
Kaja said,
Kaja the only one online?
She's the only
What's
one
up,
that answered
y'all?
the
What's
questions
up online?
online.
What's up online? Wait, hold on, online. Online. You got to come on, online.
Well, in fairness, too, Kaja blasted out when you asked all the questions. She responded to all of them in chat. So I'm not saying that online's not participating. It's just they haven't dropped it in the chat.
Well, we love you, Kaja. We appreciate that. But online,
we got 19 people online right now.
Come on, online. I need your answers. Anybody else? Anybody here? Content versus context? No. No.
No. Can I answer? No.
Content is what is, and context is what's happening around it. That's the simplest way I would put it.
Mm-hmm. Sort.
Like the context is the container, and the content is the water. That's the way I would put it simplest.
Okay. Go ahead.
I put face value versus deeper meaning.
Face value versus deeper meaning. Close. Yeah. And content versus context. We've gone deep on this subject. We've gone deep. Go ahead, Shakina.
Oh, you want to now?
Come on, superstar.
No, I didn't. I wrote content over context. It is assumption based, not getting all of the data points, not leading with curiosity, and outcome over process. So it's just kind of like I was trying to summarize because we had to write down a whole bunch of stuff really fast. But it's kind of like having a really deep conversation and then only focusing on like the thing that initiated it, but not looking at everything that had to do with leading up into the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, very close. So content is the data.
Yeah, data.
Context is the basically the territory. All the surrounding nuance information that is ingrained in the data. So if you saw a word that said "What's up," WASSUP, what does that mean to you? Meaning what? What you doing? What's happening? If you see the word "What's up," what does that mean to you?
The front door.
Wow.
My God.
He's-
Get your
Josh said, huh? What's going on?
I think about that old classic commercial where everyone's all like, "What's up?" Because like that's
Yeah.
the word for me.
See what I'm saying? So with the exclamation mark on it, content is the word "What's up." Context is the exclamation mark. Period. Question. 2 exclamation marks. Now, what if it was a exclamation mark, a question mark, and an exclamation mark on the other side? Does that mean something different? You see what I'm saying? That's context. So if somebody say, you say, "What's up?" or "Hey, what's up?" You can say it 5, 6, 7 different times, one word, and it means 5, 6, 7 different things. That's why context is important. Have you ever texted somebody something and they were offended and mad at you because they took the wrong meaning from it? And you try to call and explain, but their cognitive dissonance set in, that their belief system was so strong about what you said, you had to peel them away from. No, I didn't mean it like that. I meant this. Because context and content are important.
There's a few responses online too. I missed one from Brendan said generalizing is the start to get to understanding people and cultures, but all people are individuals, so generalizing can't be used as a reality for people. And then in response to content and context, Daphne said content doesn't always give the full picture. Context gives you the ability to have accurate interpretation and application of the content.
Yep. Good job.
Estelle said content is what is at the center of the substance. Context is what are the factors of influence and what are the variables at play. And then Brendan said it's not about what is said, it's about the context of where and how things are being said. And Mizi summarized say content is what, context is why.
Yeah, close. Was that our last one?
No, we should.
One more.
Subjective.
Okay. We can. There's a whole nother list. We can dive deeper into this next class because I want to move on. But The point is, you guys, now you understand why we do this shit over and over. Why we drill the basics in. We ain't done. We got more work to do. This got to be embedded in your system, in your psychology. It has to be in your operating system to where it's part of you. And it comes through repetition again. You should tell yourself, shit, it's not automatic. I need to do it again. I need to read this book again. I need to read it again. I need to do it again. Because now you make it part of your muscle memory. So that's why we do this.
All right, so I got a question real quick, and I'm gonna be an asshole for a moment.
Please be an asshole. Please.
But what about the people that are, and I'm gonna throw the air quotes up. What about the people that are somewhat successful in today's society that don't do none of this, that go against, that don't give a fuck about the currencies of whatever, and don't care about, they map their own stuff, or they do generalize, or they don't give a fuck about the content versus context, or whatever. And I'm only saying that because there's actually an article I forgot to send it to you guys today. I thought it was extremely fucking interesting. I don't agree with it, but it's fucking wild. And it just reminded me, like, there are people that do go against everything that shit like this, and yet they are still successful based off, like, I heard you say, one of y'all said something like, but show me the numbers, right? They might have they'd be like, yeah, but I'm sitting on 5 million right now, and I don't give a fuck about none of that. So so when you say things like,
Good question.
When you say things like that, and it might sound like gospel to some people, but then we see, I'm older now, so there are a younger generation of people in this techie world society that are somewhat successful that don't kind of follow these laws or these rules. So how do we dissect? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well,
how do you?
First, the thing is, the only way you can validate what you just said is to bring the motherfucker in the room. So I'm gonna be the asshole too. Where they at? Go get them. Sit them down here. Are you 100% sure they use none of these philosophies? Are you 100% sure that they may not know how to articulate the philosophies, but they using them? You don't. So I don't play speculation. Bring the motherfuckers in here and let's sit down and talk. And let me ask them what their philosophies are and how they move. That's the only way you can really find out. Because that is more red herring shit. Like, well, what about the person who don't do that? Well, first of all, even if they want, there's plenty of people who win the fucking lottery. There's plenty of people sitting on 5, 10, 50, 100 million and don't know shit, just lucked up. And that's cool. That's good for them. But we're not playing the lottery game. We're playing the high probability game. How can we infuse you the tools to be successful? Because if you don't want these tools, you're saying, I want to play the lottery. Fuck this shit. It's too hard. I just want to play the lottery. So if they not in front of my face to sit down and talk, or if they not materialized and they say, hey, bring them fucking in this room, or let's interview they ass. If not, I don't believe that they fucking exist. They don't. Fuck them. They won the lottery.
Yeah, give him a microphone. He wants a microphone.
Also, that person who's successful could be in a hype cycle.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Basically, yeah, I was gonna say hype cycle, or just because you're sitting on 5 mil right now doesn't mean you're gonna be sitting on that in however long, because I feel like these are like core values and qualities that are playing the long game and then teach adaptability as well in this market.
Bang.
Yeah.
Bang. Blueface. When Blueface was popping, it was like, he that can't rap, but he's sitting on millions. My son was arguing with me about how Blueface, I said, this is a hype cycle. And he argued with me about Blueface.
They're right.
We got to switch.
Well, when I switch, I'm gonna follow up on the subject.
Okay.
I want to respond to that.
Yeah, let's.
Mike's not even on.
Go ahead, Josh. Go on to this.
Excuse me. All right. With my chest. Just because they're saying they have $3 million doesn't mean they actually have it. I have 3 bank accounts and I had the same amount of money in all of them and I felt really good. But I also had to pay Jasadi, Demondre, Dave, and like 5 other people. So once I was done paying them, I'm like, oh, it's not actually. So like, just because they say they have $5 million, they might be wearing their money rather than actually owning the assets to it.
Pause.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Thank you, Court.
Let me answer your question too. Oh, I got some shit to say. Real quick, hold on. I'm actually, because I told you we're gonna spend time working on our thinking for the rest of the year. Let's say that person really has that money. Let's just accept this person. Let's accept that for the sake of the discussion. They have that money. They're not in a hype cycle, and they made, say, $20 million, right? And after they made $20 million, they move with a level of scarcity, so they don't really spend money. All right, let's get into the flaw of logic. Taleb Nassim discussed this, and it's because we don't understand the power of randomness. So in your question is a flaw of thinking, because it's not understanding the power of randomness. Let me give you an example. Let's say a man walks up to Tone and says, I got $10 million, Tone. Because I taught this last, matter of fact, the question you just asked is directly addressed by what I taught last week. Do you remember what I taught last week by any chance? So what I talked about last week is study process over outcome, right? What you did is took outcome to make an argument for a process, as opposed to let's understand the process over outcome. So let me give you an example. So a man walks up to you and says, Tone, imagine that, okay, first of all, let's imagine there's multiple different versions of reality. Like sometimes when you're analyzing, like, if this had happened, what would be the other version of that reality, right? So let's say in this version of reality, somebody walks up to you and says, Tone, I got $10 million to play Russian roulette. And when you got the gun, you pull the trigger and no bullet goes off. You have $10 million. But in one of those alternate realities, somebody dies. Now, if you play that same game every year, at some point between here and 50, it's a chance you're probably not going to live. Now, if 500 versions of you played that game, it's a chance within 50 years, 2 or 3 will make it. You see where I'm going with this? Meaning that person who made it is just nothing but a lucky fool. They played a fool game and became a lucky fool. And you know who's the last person to know they're a lucky fool? The lucky fool. So a lot of times when somebody says, I made $10 million, yes, but if you don't understand process over outcome, what you're doing is you're taking the outcome as a lesson and filling it with assumptions and assuming that a bad process is a smart solution. Where a lot of times a good solution, a good process can yield you a bad outcome, but you should do it again and again and again, because based on rules of probability and randomness, that process will yield you over a long period of time wins. Like, for example, if you're investing in the stock market, if you know the S&P has a steady form of growth over a certain amount of years, even when you see a hard dip in the market, most people would automatically stop investing. What they would tell you is, no, invest, continue to invest, because it's going to come back, because those dips are part of, you're going to have spikes, you're going to have dips, spikes and dips. But at the end, it's going to even around 7 to 8% interest over a 10 to 15 year period, right? What we have to be cautious is when people use anecdotal information, which is not insight. Anecdotal doesn't give you a clear grasp of a world based upon randomness. What anecdotal information does, it says, I know a guy. In a world of 8 billion people, you will always know a guy. There's another principle of randomness that says, there was a time when you say, this rarely ever happens. And that was a legitimate comment. But when the world reached 8 billion people, things that rarely ever happen all the time. So you see where I'm going with this? Like that article in itself is a flaw of thinking, because based upon the principle of randomness, there are a lot of lucky rich fools who write books. Now, to the observer, so here's another thing going further into this point. A dentist, your dentist is very, very rich. Now, doesn't have the same spike of growth, but over the career of being a dentist, they make this much money, right? And then you have somebody who may invest in the market, let's say have a personal portfolio, and they may have a huge, fast spike of growth. For the person across the street, they're the same person. But the difference is the person across the street doesn't see the hard growth, the hard spikes, and the hard crashes. The person from across the streets also doesn't see the amount of people who died from playing that same game. You see where I'm going with this? So ultimately, we can't really measure things from an anecdotal perspective, because then the other side of that story is, okay, so how many people did what they did who didn't read those books, who failed, and how many people who read the books performed well in life, right? And what you'll find is that, let's get into another rule of probability. You could do everything right, and the chances of your business running is still victim to randomness and probability. So, but what we discovered is that although randomness and probability still dictates the final outcome, you have, not only do you increase your probability by the things we're teaching in class, but you also guaranteed a stronger financial base. I mean, your company may never run, but somehow you still came out with like $1 or $2 million because you were able to see opportunities. A lot of times, because we think so incorrectly, this is where racism, the residue of racism has impacted us. A lot of times, luck is always showing up at your door. It's often we can't see it, and even we can see it, we don't know how to take advantage of it. Because the way that we think, it's almost like we're all hungry, and we see a river, and we see no fish. But when the fish does arrive, no one ever studied the art of fishing. So then we talk about, oh, this earth offers me nothing, I'm starving. No, you still know how to recognize the rhythm when fish come through, when are they more likely to show up, and if they do show up, what gives you a higher probable chance of catching that fish? And even when you catch the fish, well, how do you actually go from catching the fish and actually taking the fish in and digesting the fish? So what I'm suggesting is that there's so many flawed, I call those pop articles. That's why I hate them so much, and that's why I try to make sure that when I put out podcasts in this class, the last 2 years I went through extreme processes to remove anything that sounded pop in the podcast, because they were flawed logic, and they're popular logic, but they're extremely flawed. And so anything anecdotal, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. Just not a thing. All right. Couple things. One, next week, I'm asking all alumni. Everybody that's been in this class for quite some time, to show up to next week's class. So Kaja gave us a feedback letter, and I want to say thank you. And by the way, Kaja, course response, his class had nothing to do with your feedback letter. It just happened to be the perfect class that happened to be part of our feedback letter, right?
I swear, Kaja.
I swear, it's crazy.
I wrote this Monday.
He wrote this shit Monday, and then your letter came in, I think last night or whatever. I caught it right before I went to sleep, and I shared it with him this morning. So Kaja said, can we actually have a class based upon her feedback letter, like where we just kind of discuss her feedback that she gave for back to the class. So I think that'd be kind of cool, because a lot of it was tied to alumni and how they felt about certain areas of the class. And I've heard multiple people mention this area. So when we have our end of the month open discussion class, her letter is going to be at the center of that class, and we're going to read off each line and see how you guys, what you guys' opinion is. And I want us to use it as an opportunity for learning, growth, and exploration. We ain't go, we're not doing Family Feud up in this bitch. We're going to really sit here and have a cool conversation of exploration. But I think some things she brought up is going to be one thing I appreciate from feedback is transfer, because language is ambiguous. Like it's language is not, thoughts and ideas and transfer ideas are very complex. And whether you guys know it or not, every night I call somebody in this class and say, hey, what do you think about class? Right? Or I go on the YouTube page and Facebook page and read all the comments, right? To kind of hear, how is this class translating? But I appreciate when you guys send me personal messages, email them to me or text them to me to give me an opportunity to see what's not translating or even your distortions. Either way, we have a challenge on our hands, and I'm up to accepting the challenge. So next week, I'm asking everybody, yo, Tone, if you could be here, Chris, Charlize, Silence, Meezy, if any of these people are in the house, any of the alumni that's been around, let's have alumni discussion. And because one is that
I don't know if I can make it.
I want to hear from the people who are being impacted. All right. Okay, so let's get into the first slide. Let's roll real fast. I'm
Yeah.
trying to move the first couple slides, and I'm not going to move so fast because these first couple slides, I just want to have some honorable mentions. As you guys know, I went on vacation to San Diego, and I had a chance to do some dope observations. I'm going to share a couple with you quickly, and then I'm going to get into the class. So next slide, please. First, I want to say before we get this class started, while I was on vacation, I heard about the Texas flood. My heart and my prayers go out to those families. I can't begin to imagine sending my daughter to a camp and losing her to a flash flood. Over 100 people died. I'm a human. Before all politics, beliefs, and ideas, all those babies was lost. All those family members was lost. Fathers was lost. Leaders were lost. That shit hit me in the chest. That's just crazy. I don't like to hear about a whole bunch of children being killed for any reason whatsoever, whether it's Rwanda, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in the Congo, whether it's in Russia or in the middle of a war. I'm hearing about babies dying, especially to something like a crazy flood. My heart goes out to them. Next slide. I want to take a second to acknowledge Ryan Coogler. I don't think we give that cat enough dope response. First of all, he's from the Bay, y'all. I don't know if y'all know that shit. He's from the Bay. And I don't know if y'all pay attention. He don't code switch. He's us. If you listen to Ryan Coogler talk, you've heard his voice before in our schools, in our neighborhoods, in our hyphy circles. Ryan Coogler is us. But also, if you read his story, his Wikipedia, he's a high-performing version of us. Meaning that high performance and still being black can be 100% tied together. And I think he's a manifestation of what many of us want, which is high performance while still being true to our culture. And did y'all notice he has a beautiful black wife? Did y'all see that? Come on now. Like, this man is literally gifting the black community in so many different ways. I saw Ironheart just recently. Everybody's seen Black Panther. Everybody's seen Sinner. This brother's thrown out
Shout out to
many.
Shanaka from West Oakland, wrote the whole thing.
Huh?
Shanaka Hodge.
Yes,
Hodge's daughter
Shanaka
wrote the
Hodge.
whole thing,
Yes,
yep.
a sister, and her dad is Greg Hodge. And these are black folks who are performing. So black people, when you guys get a chance, get these black people some. And as a matter of fact, Ryan Coogler's wife, I think she's she does movies and she creates movies. But, huh? One of the producers, yes. So listen, y'all, honestly, we have greatness in our midst. Don't have our kids telling us about our history. Take time while they're here to celebrate them, love on them, appreciate them. A black man at high performance with a black wife, right? And if he's working with Hodge, y'all know Greg Hodge has been serving the black community for so damn long. Come on, man. Give that man, give that family, give these people some respect. Show love to the Hodge family. Show love to the Coogler family. Every time that man speaks, I'm not looking for profound. I love that. I feel like I know him. That in itself is a celebration of he's breaking the stereotypes that you have to be a certain way to be at your highest performance. He loves his culture. He loves who he is, but he also knows his shit. If you see his work, you see the quality of his work. I want to say, I just want to take a second to celebrate him. I feel like we just under-celebrate him. Okay, next slide. All right. By the way, I know, I'm saying, stop. First of all, Sydney, you could have put your boy LeBron up there too, because I'm just saying, they both be doing some complaining. But Sydney, I know your bias, only Jordan complained, even though I don't remember that. But anyway, But Sydney, I understand, man. Sydney, know yourself. But anyway, let me say this real quick. Complaining is the rhythm of the week. Let me say this again. Complaining, you could complain once in a while, but a complainer is the rhythm of the week. Of the week. Okay, let me give you an example where it came from. So my son, he's fighting and he's making a comeback. And he has a cool little job that he picked up in Concord. And I'm really impressed with how much he's been fighting to gain his footing. My heart goes out to him, and I'm really impressed with his drive. But the other week, I noticed he didn't go to work, or he wasn't inspired to go to work. And on the weekends, he doesn't miss work because he gets paid time and a half. So, for whatever reason, he just was like, yeah, I don't want to go. Also, I noticed that he was walking around the house and on the phone with other employees just complaining. Yeah, this, and they don't do this, and they don't do that, and this is unfair, and da-da-da-da, and they done passed me up for a promotion, and da-da-da-da. And when he finished, I said, son, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, I know you're new at business, I know you're new at work, but I'm trying to stop you from falling into the ghetto cycle. He said, what? I said, the ghetto cycle. You ever seen a woman at an office who got hella attitude, or a dude at the office who always like, I don't give a fuck? I said, it's called a ghetto cycle. I said, you know how it starts? It's a complainer forgets that they have something to do with it. Mm-hmm. They focus on what is happening to them as opposed to what they are doing. And I said, let me ask you a second question. Did this man ever pay you late? He said, no. I said, you got to the office and the doors was locked? He said, no. I said, is this man inappropriate touching you guys? Nah. Does he come down there and be calling you all like N-words and B's and all that stuff? Not at all. I said, so guess what happens when you complain? You're going to find the low frequency employees that we're going to rap to you all day long. Yeah, they ain't shit. They ain't shit. I said, let me explain to you. But you won't hear the voice of the high performers. And what happens is you start to get into a cycle and framing how this world is. And now you hate showing up because his job is happening to you and you're not being treated fair and now you're weak. I said, you know what agency is? He's like, yeah. I said, see, people like me, when I see a problem, I start working on a solution. I may complain for 4 seconds. This is some bullshit. You see what happened over here? My brain is already working on solutions. I said, and guess what? That's where my empowerment, my sense of self, my personal value comes from, working on solutions. But it's so easy when you move around society, you complain about racism, jobs, masculinity, tall and short people, LeBron James, whatever you complain about, right? You don't realize you're victimizing yourself and you're shrinking yourself and you're hurting yourself. The reality is that when you see something you don't like, what moves can you make? I said, here's an opportunity to reposition yourself, son. I said, if you reposition yourself, you'll realize that there's a certain portion of those employees that love that environment and figuring out how ways to exploit these opportunities. I said, but there might be a situation where maybe when you show up in the morning, you may eat food and leave it on the floor and just walk out. And it irritates the fuck out of everybody. So when they write you up about this over here, it's really because they're irritated with you over here. It might be that you speak in a way that's just so inappropriate. The way you dress may be so inappropriate. They just don't like you. And he goes, well, watch this. He goes, well, I said also too, remember that those people are not your friends who you're complaining with at your job, because there's a missing variable that you guys can't see. It's called money, incentives. So if that money hits their table, they're going to say, fuck you. Matter of fact, they will even betray you and get you fired, whether you know it or not. He says, well, I don't have anything to worry about because the owner likes me a lot. I said, son, that's not your family. I said, listen to you how owners work. You know what they love the most? It's called Merrill Lynch. It's called Bank of America. It's called Wells Fargo. It's called Citibank. It's called Chase Manhattan. And if you get in the way between that relationship, guess who gets cut first? Don't fool yourself. Be careful with complainers, because everybody I know who practices the art of complaining, almost everybody I know who masters the art of complaining is broke. There's some people right now could walk in a room. You could say, the rich people, and they can become so charismatic and use words you never heard and describe histories you can't even find on ChatGPT. They can get into all kinds of details and conspiracies and theories. But when you look at that bank account, oh, you're a complainer. I'm not saying the world, going back to what Court taught previously, it's just gravity. It's just the life was going to always have problems. I'm sorry. The child you're about to have, the child you just had, the child you had a few years back, tell that child that they're going to have just as many problems to deal with as you're going to have. Meaning that we're never going to run out of problems. So the person sits around and be like, wow, these problems, and oh my God, the problems. And I'm shrinking myself as I think about more problems because the world is closing in on me because of problems. It's called accept life for what it is. Your job is to use these problems and turn them into opportunities. And those of you who take problems and amplify the power of the problems, then you're just a kid in a grown-up world. That's it. That's it. Next slide. Oh, my dog, serotonin. You know what serotonin is called? It's called the
happiness drug.
No, it's a leadership chemical. Oh. So I don't want to hear about what you take. We were poisonous. And so I was in Coronado and La Jolla, San Diego. And if anybody been in those areas, you know that's where the rich live. Most of the rich people are so rich, they don't even drive their cars. They drive golf carts because they run all their errands on golf courts because the city is so damn safe and the driving is so mellow that it's just a different mindset. Now, mind you, the buildings look like some of the buildings we have in East Oakland, but the mindset around them make them look so much better. It's a difference between two people who buy a car and one person who washes their car and details the car, and another person who has never washed the car since the day they bought it and we're in the second year. That's the difference between where I was. But what was even more observable and what was more impressive, and it was something that it pains my heart, is how much serotonin they had and how much serotonin we didn't have. Let me share a story with you also from Taleb Nassim. He said, never ask a trader if the day was profitable. He said, matter of fact, what his father used to say is never ask a Spartan if he or she is a Spartan. Because if they were, they would let you know. The reason you don't ask a trader if the day was profitable, because a trader who's performing at a high level will have a higher level of serotonin, and you will see it in their walk, the way they swagger, the way they talk, the way they touch, the way they engage. And the trader who's not doing too well, you would also see it in their behavior because their serotonin is low. What he also discovered is that if you were at the top of your career and your serotonin was high and you lost all your money, so would your serotonin go with it. By the way, serotonin is driven by pride, status, and gratefulness. But what he also found out is that serotonin can be a doom spiral. So what I mean by this is that if you're doing bad, and then from you doing bad, you don't feel good, your serotonin lowers. Because your serotonin lowers, you'll do worse, and then you get caught in this cycle. You're going back and forth, back and forth. Often folks with low serotonin don't handle stress really well, very moody, very sensitive. I can't believe you upset me. You don't see me. You don't validate me. A person who's low in serotonin also sometimes can be very aggressive. Black people, I don't think you understand. Like, I remember Nation of Islam used to teach how to greet, how to say hi, how to stand, how to value yourself. You know, a lot of that was serotonin training. A lot of us walk around sloped shoulders, complaining, stressing, escaping. Not realizing that we're practicing our art of low serotonin. But here's the thing: what they found out is that, do you know all the dominant animals in the wild have higher levels of serotonin?
That makes sense.
That's the first sign that you know an animal is dominant, by its level of serotonin. And because of the height of serotonin, the other animal who's dominant signals to the other animals is dominant. Meaning it doesn't fight and work its way to the top. The serotonin signals to other animals is dominant. Let me go another layer to this. Did you guys know that leadership is not based upon knowledge? Did you know that leadership is not based upon, you can fight? Shakina?
Hey, yo.
I'm just saying, you keep thinking you're going to beat up everybody. That ain't the solution. Right?
When's the last time I got
But leadership is based upon something as simple as charisma. You know who has a lot of charisma? Those with a lot of serotonin. A lot of you guys want to be leaders, and you walk around practicing behavior of low serotonin. You know I hate social justice, right? So I'm in La Jolla, and I'm talking to individual white women and white men who are walking down the street with high levels of serotonin. The way they would speak to me would say, "Yeah, I run shit." And I'm like, "Oh, this is cool. I like this energy." So we're talking, having conversations. Go to the other island. Folks would just walk up to me in the family. "Hey, how you doing? That's a beautiful little girl." High levels of serotonin. So then I went to a restaurant, and a heavy social justice heavy restaurant. Like, as soon as you walked in, diversity was just screaming off the walls. Everything, it was like diversity going wild. I mean, I'm just, woo. I didn't know who the fuck I was. I walked in there. I didn't know if I should use S's or not.
Jesus Christ.
And you seen everybody walk over to our table and feel like a victim. You saw people, did they see me? Or they were over performance. "Oh my God, how you doing?" But they didn't have ownership in their spaces. And the business reflected that. The experience, the services. When we went to restaurants where serotonin was high, the restaurants performed differently. The people in the restaurants performed different. The expectations were different. The movement was different. The tips were different. Go to this other restaurant where serotonin was low, and it was like, wow, this feels depressing. I know we learn a lot of shit in class, but going with the theme of the basics, a lot of our basics is how we carry ourselves, how you feel about yourself. I got 2 trainers in the room, right? Now, when y'all put on a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, and y'all walk into a crowd at a festival, do y'all feel different? Tell the truth. Shakina, do you feel different? You put on you're a trainer. You're a trainer. When y'all walk into a space, do y'all feel different about yourself? Yeah, you motherfucking right, you do.
Forever be that.
Now, because have you ever seen the same t-shirt on a woman that's not investing in herself? I ain't talking about her body shape, because she'll be thin. So all you little sensitive people, body shaming, fuck off. I'm not talking about that. Not today. I'll get you later. But what I'm arguing is that how you wear that outfit matters. How you feel about yourself underneath that outfit matters. How you stand matters. How you talk matters. How you interact with strangers matters. To get to this world where I should be able to be anything and have the same outcome, we're animals, people. We're signaling to each other who's the alpha dogs in the room. Do you realize, like, in mob groups, the buffest dude is usually not the leader? It's that older gentleman with a lot of serotonin running everything. We're missing these goddamn conversations because social justice got us focused on this. It's almost like we're focusing on the little small details that don't even matter. Man, woman, tall, high, straight, gay. Oh, who gives a shit? Can I tell you something about the wild? See, when you work at corporate America, do you realize you're going through an approval system? So somebody has to bless you, right? When you work in corporate America, somebody has to like give you a promotion, even hire you, right? Shakina, can you answer for me, because you've been kind of insightful today. You or Brandon, if Brandon wants to jump in. And as an entrepreneur, who's hiring?
You.
As an entrepreneur, who's approving?
You.
As an entrepreneur, who's validating?
Your bank account.
Yeah, so you got that little core swag, how you need motherfucking bank account. So you'll say it, but like what I'm saying is that in the entrepreneur world, there is no hierarchy saying except God saying whether you're gonna perform or not. So you got to learn how to rise to your leadership position to work with other human animals to get what you want. Imagine the leader of your company ain't got no serotonin. Why these employees keep stealing my shit? They all come in late disrespecting me. Right? You can't build the story. You can't move things. You need serotonin to move things. I'm going to stop there for today because I'm going to get back to this some other time. But the serotonin observation was dope as hell. And I sat there and I thought, and you can say anything you want to say about white men, whatever. To me, they're just another human being. I'm not into all that. And they're worthy opponents sometimes, most of the times. And I'm still pro-black. But I met a white man who y'all would call a white man, and he was just trying to take care of his family. I know other white men who they don't give a shit about what you're saying because they got their own battles on their own plate. But my observation wasn't that. My observation was, look at serotonin moving amongst us. And I saw white women. When I was in Texas, I walked to this white woman's cowboy shop where they had them expensive boots. Everything's $300 and up. And this woman walked up to me with high levels of serotonin. Do you know she had me feel like I was a kid? I said, what did she just shrink me? And she didn't even say anything. Serotonin has all these invisible signals. Her signals were so cold. I said, why do I feel like I'm talking to my mother? Why do I feel like I'm 12 years of age? I'm over there trying to find my serotonin. Where the hell my serotonin just went? This woman is cold-blooded. And some of y'all will never find that serotonin because you're too busy being victimized. But as a woman, what about you got the same serotonin opportunities I have. You got to find it. All the women I know, I have a billionaire female friend right now. She's a billionaire. Myrtle Potter, look her up. She has her own resort in the Bahamas. If you meet this woman, her serotonin, she walk in this room, you won't even know who she is. She'll be like, who's that? You'll know because of the way she walk in this room. You know, she married a man from PG&E who's a supervisor over the guys who are out there on the poles. And pause. And let it go. I said, let it go. Look, the whole goddamn team just woke up. They was like, what? Wow. She's a billionaire who married somebody from PG&E, right?
Working in bowls.
And she loves to cook for her husband. By the way, you know what, Shakita, get out the conversation. The point is this. You gotta repeat that last part. No, so she married her husband that she fell in love with who works for PG&E. Do you know she loves to cook for her husband? Did y'all listen to that last podcast I put out from the guy from PepsiCo? I mean, the woman from PepsiCo who's this Indian woman who's to run PepsiCo. And when she came home and she announced to her mother, she said, Mom, they just made me the president of PepsiCo. You know, that's multi-million dollars. They just made me the president of PepsiCo. She's an Indian woman from India. And her mother said, cool, just get the bags at the garage. And she said, Mom, did you just not hear me? They made me the president of PepsiCo, and you got me going to the garage to get bags? She says, daughter, leave your title in the garage and go get those bags. I mean that you're still a family person. You still got roles at the household. I don't give a shit what your title is in this outside world. Mm-hmm. Serotonin. Let's go. Next slide. You ready? We're gonna kind of like, this is a slight refresher, but this is gonna like, this is important because I'm teaching you guys how to think differently. And if you guys are missing the thought lesson online as well as in person, just say I don't get it. Say I don't fucking get it, or challenge it. But this ain't a class of tactics. Matter of fact, Courts, I wanted to say this when he was talking earlier. Do you guys know that being an entrepreneur is not a skill? Did you know entrepreneurs are not a skill? It's not a skill. You can't pick up a skill and become an entrepreneur. That's skill is tied to workers. Entrepreneur is a way of thinking. Did y'all know that? You can have no skills and be a great entrepreneur.
You can have all the skills and never be a great entrepreneur. All right, Shakita, let's read this first one. Let's roll.
And I'm writing a note real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, you know what's so funny? She's typing fast. Why does her shoulders go up though?
Because I got to work around the mic.
Yeah. Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa.
You know what? I'll pause y'all. So I'm going to take that one.
Yellow
I'm
flag.
Take that one.
I'm throwing the flag. Throw the flag. I got to throw the flag on that
Get
one.
your sound. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. I'm not even finna set myself up again. Nope. Ford almost had me with the okado.
Hey, okay. All right, let's try this real quick. Let's go, people.
Woo. Why? Why do people tend to embrace the inside view? Most of us are unduly optimistic a good deal of the time. Social psychologists distinguish 3 illusions that lead people to the inside view. Remarkably, the least capable people often have the largest gaps between what they think they can do and what they actually achieve.
Go wait, paused. Did you see how Court taught the same thing?
Yeah.
So, inside view is the way you see the world. Outside view is the people outside of your view. They see the same situation, right? And a lot of times, when you're on the inside, by default, you create a huge distortion, but also you create a huge distortion of your capabilities and your value to the challenges in front of you when you're on the inside. Go ahead.
In one study, researchers asked subjects to rate their perceived ability and likely success on a grammar test. Figure 1-1 shows the poorest performances dramatically overstated their abilities, thinking that they would be in the next to highest.
Pause real quick. I think, hold on a second. Let me double check something real quick. I think, what's the name? I think you're missing a slide from some of the slides from last week. Hold on a second.
Okay.
1 second, because I want to make sure this seems kind of off a little bit. Hold on. Jesus Christ. Hold on, because I want this to be done right. Hold on 1 second. Drive. Got me. I'm stressing out now. Okay, let's see. Give me 1 second, y'all.
Was I supposed to start on a different slide?
Well, no, the slide that we left off at. Hold on. I think what happened was, I told Sydney to include some slides from last week, and I think somehow they didn't get transferred over or something.
Yes.
And
I
you
can
have?
pull up last week's slide.
Can you pull up slide? Pull up last week's slides.
Yes.
You have them?
92, right?
Because we shouldn't be there. Why do people tend to embrace the inside view? Okay. I think there's some more. 92. You think it was? Yeah, I haven't deleted them in a couple weeks. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going back to Sydney too. Okay. Do a search, Sydney. Okay, I just want to make sure. I don't want to make sure we're not. Okay, 92. Let me see. Open 92 real quick. PDF. Okay, I think. Okay, you know what? That's fine. Go with that. That's fine. Let's just keep going. So we're good. We can go with that. Go back to slide number 3. You okay, Josh? So go finish this. Just pick up where you left off. Figure 1 through 1 shows that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, 1 second. I'm in 92. Okay.
You can go right back to that one.
Figure 1-1 shows that the poorest performers dramatically overstated their ability, thinking that they would be in the next to highest quartile. They turned in results in the bottom quartile. Furthermore, even when individuals do acknowledge that they are below average, they tend to dismiss their shortcomings as inconsequential.
Okay, let me hit that inconsequential. I think we didn't hit that. We didn't tap that point strong enough. You ever bring something to somebody that they're wrong? They go, oh well, but. Yeah. You ever see that before? My daughter does it sometimes. I'll be like, hey, you did it wrong. She's like, yeah, but it's not inconsequential. It's like that's how what's happening is that we're embarrassed from being wrong, and we're trying to skip the point, or we're saying something like, yeah, but what about when? Or we're trying to make some type of connection to make our point complete, because in the end, we're trying to protect our view over learning something new. You guys, it happens all the time. If you check somebody on something and they be like, yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, but I hear what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is, you're trying to make it inconsequential that I'm trying to give you an outside view. So a lot of times you're dismissing feedback of outside view because you're trying to make it inconsequential. It's a form of shrugging your shoulders, going, yeah, but. All right, keep going.
The second is the illusion of optimism.
Oh my God.
Most people see their future as brighter than that of others. For example, researchers asked a college student to estimate their chances of having various good and bad experiences during their lives. The students judged themselves for more likely to have a good experience than their peers and far less likely to have bad experiences.
So you can't escape this. You can't escape this. Everybody think that life is supposed to be special for them. Everybody thinks that. So that optimism creates a psychological distortion for you. So if I said to you, Tone, what's the chance you're going to be successful in the next 3 years? You'd be like, with me, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be good, right? That's not a flaw. That's the way the human brain works. You just got to know that your optimism is not contextual data. It's just your brain. It's almost like the press secretary effect. It's your brain trying. We're all victims of optimism. Some of us are even more optimistic. Some of us are like, what's going to happen to me, right? Like, there's two extremes here. It's a person they're so optimistic where they can't see shit that's happening in front of them, and it's a person who's so analytical about the problem that they can't sleep at night. Mm-hmm. You want to stay in the middle somewhere where you can be optimistic, but you got to be able to say, when I'm planning, my money's on the table. Now let's get realistic. And just know that most of your plans, if you write a business plan, it's optimistic. If you work on a business idea, if you have a new idea for a new business, it's hella optimistic. Realistic, if you're about to have a child tomorrow, it's optimistic. How many parents act the same after they have the child? None. Most parents be like, I want to have a baby. I'm going to love and kiss on them. Oh my God, this baby get on my goddamn nerves. Stop crying. Right? Optimistic versus realistic is two separate conversations. And so it's very easy when you're doing all this thinking about what you want to do with your business, your family, your life, realize you're by default have an optimism bias. Next slide.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Last week's slides, were you referencing the one that went over the inside view versus the outside view? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, we're still addressing inside view versus outside view, but we're okay. This is okay. It's okay. Next slide.
Okay. Finally, there is the illusion of control. Mm-hmm. People behave in chance events.
Behave as if chance. People, right. Yeah.
Get my bifocals, y'all.
Yeah, go ahead.
People behave as if chance events are subject to their control.
So, okay, this inside view versus outside view is developing. Let me step back a little bit. The inside view versus outside view is teaching you how to navigate uncertainty. It's randomness. The reason we don't have control because everything's random. Like literally. Okay, I know Court is a very, very strong man. I know he's a family man. I know that tomorrow he's going to wake up with the intent to run his company and make a profit. I know tomorrow that he's going to wake up with every intent to express to his children he loves them. I know tomorrow he's going to probably wake up and give Erica a kiss on the cheek and say, yo, I love you. Randomness says, and none of that may happen. That's it. So if you're living in a world where randomness is part of our equation, and you have these solid form of planning and this imagination of perfect world, how it should work. And even when you hear people say, in business, all you need to do is this. That's not a thing. Randomness says it could possibly go another direction just because shit's random. So there is an illusion of control, which is tied to people, since when you understand randomness, you realize you don't really have control. This is why a lot of spiritual people are like, thank God. Thank God. They're always referencing God because they realize you just don't have control. It just is what it is, right? And so a lot of us think for whatever reason that things are under, at some point, even when things are happening in our life, when you ask the person, like, how did it happen in your life? No one says, well, some of it was luck. Some shit kind of happened. Like, we're reading a book by Firestone. He'll tell you, hey, if this shit would have went this way, I've been broke. Right? And if this wouldn't have given me the credit, and if this motherfucker would have filed a lawsuit, I've been broke again. Right? But we don't write like that. What we'll say is like, yeah, so what I did is I brought my lawyers in and I negotiated this. As a matter of fact, you should have lawyers because and then you have insurance. And then I did this and I did that and I did this. You hear that sense of control and as they articulate success. You don't control success like that. It's a dance. It's literally a dance that has residue from you dancing well. All right, keep going. For instance,
people rolling dice throw softly when they want to roll low numbers and hard for high numbers.
Y'all seen that before, right? Y'all seen that, right? How people when they think they have control of something like dice or anything, basketball, baseball. I got my ritual. I do this first. The reason I didn't make it is I didn't go through this. I didn't do this first. If I would did that, it would make. What the fuck are you talking about? Your shots are random. Now, it doesn't mean that you still won't shoot 36, 40%, 50% over your career, but every shot don't go in because you say it should win in. If that's the case, basketball will be hard to watch. It just be right? Randomness is what makes sports fun to watch because shit just randomly happen. You have the best of the best of the best playing the sport who are victims to the principles of randomness. But yet the people who are playing randomness will say, I have my good luck, charm, I have this practice, have this belief. It's random, baby. Sorry. It just is. Keep going.
In one study, researchers asked two groups of office workers to participate in a lottery with a $1 cost and a $50 prize.
By the way, side note, if you ever participate in a bid, the person who bid the highest always overpays. I mean, remember, this is a rule of business. It's the winner's curse. Let's call it the winner's curse. If you ever participate in a bid, this is why eBay made a lot of their money. It's a principle of human beings. When you see people fighting to buy a company, and different people are bidding, whoever pays for that company, whoever wins that company, they overpaid. And the reason that a lot of companies fail in bid wars is because you overpaid so much, you lost your slack to get through the transition. Anyway, go ahead.
One group was allowed to choose their lottery cards, while the other group had no choice. Luck determined the probability of winning, of course, but that's not how the workers behaved.
Next slide. Oh, So when you see people win lotteries or you see people play lottery, they really think whatever concept they have is going to help them win. And God forbid they win 2 or 3 times. Oh my God, that person will die and spend the rest of their money believing that this principle works. You're still a victim of randomness. Keep going.
Marketers are highly competitive.
Markets are highly competitive.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry, y'all.
Okay.
And money managers charge fees that diminish returns.
Mm-hmm.
Markets also have a good dose of randomness, assuring that all investors see good and poor results from time to time. Despite the evidence, active money managers behave as if they can defy the odds and deliver market-beating returns. These investment firms rely on the inside view to justify their strategies and fees.
Okay. This is important. This is so fucking important. I'm talking to you about your money now. Stop listening to people who tell you about investing in the market online. Stop it. Stop it, huh? Stop it. And the reason you want to stop this process is because a lot of them are trying to suggest they figured it out. There is no, this shit is a random game. You're gambling. Now, you could play, matter of fact, you'll find that you're going to meet people who are going to make money, go back to the Lucky Fool, who had a personal portfolio. They're not investing in the S&P market, which is slow, not T-bills, which is slow, not interest-bearing savings, which are slow, right? But over the long run, even though it's slow, it's stable, and your chances of long-term success is there. A lot of people online are speaking to your desire to want to create a shortcut. and they tell you get a personal portfolio, invest in this company, that company, this company, and that company. That risk factor, I don't give a fuck what people tell you and how much they tell you can beat the market. Almost no one beats the market. All these people like no offense, the Wall Street Trapper. Oh, what you need to do, this guy online called the Wall Street Trapper, he's always telling black people to invest. Now, I'm cool with conservative investment because I'm a conservative investor in the market. All you need to do is, I don't care if it's even local, all you need to do is to get this hookup. Just realize, even if they did win, they're a victim of randomness. Once you understand randomness and how serious it impacts all of business, you can start to see all the snake oil salespeople who are writing books. Because snake oil salespeople says, if you just follow these 10 steps, that's not possible. Randomness says there's no such thing. You just lied to me. You just fucking lied to me. Go ahead.
Warren Buffett had that famous bet for $1 million. He bet any hedge fund that they couldn't beat the market for 10 years. And like the one person that took it up, I think gave up in 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, once we stop playing this game of that we can defeat randomness, we can't. When you got in your car, you drove over here, you just previously defeated randomness. Now you got to do it again when you go home. Like that's how randomness works. There is no guarantees in this game. But when you start moving in business, when people write business plans as if they have just wrote a document that gives them a guarantee that their plan is going to work, is as a 6, as a 7, as a 8, as a 9, as a 10. It's crazy. Keep going.
The odds of success are poor, but not for me.
Mm-hmm. So please go back to that one. The odds of success are poor, but not for me. So here's where a personal distortion happens with randomness. Because we take, so let me give you how outside view works. You may say, for example, only 3% of people that live in this area are successful entrepreneurs. You say, not for me. But you won't do anything different. Let me say this again. If something says there's a 5% chance that African Americans in Oakland will be successful entrepreneurs, and you follow the popular trend, do you understand that outside viewer already said that it's a very low chance you're going to be successful? If you're going to be part of a community and you're following popular trend, and that number from the outside already suggests it's a low chance you're going to make it, you're already participating in an act of high failure. So that means if you're in a situation where it rarely ever happens and is a rare success, your plan should be just as eccentric as this data that works against you. You guys get that? This is where we go get. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try it, but it ain't like. It's okay. Let me keep it simple for y'all. The typical dope dealer. Typical dope dealer gets into the game thinking, not for me though. How many of us have watched 99.9% of our friends who said not for me fall victim to one or the other? And he didn't do anything different. Now, you will hear stories of somebody who made it further or did better, but that's that Russian roulette story I told you, which is we're all playing a bad game, but we all have a bad process. But even when we're all playing bad process, depending on how many people play it, you're still going to have some winners. But you're playing a losing game. Go ahead.
It makes me think about like just boiling down life to a very simple story. When you're young, you always think about like, oh, I'm going to have this big grandiose life and all these things are going to happen. And then you get old and you be like, oh, damn, like nothing panned out the way that I thought. I'm old. I'm hurting. I ain't got no money. I didn't plan for nothing. I thought I was going to have this great life. And it's like, yeah, but those who fail to prepare fail. And so if you don't have a strategy that's constantly evolving, you're going to fail.
Yeah, you have to. And you also have to be careful of those who exploit those who plan too, because there's some people that will pull that fear lever and then have you making decisions. There's a balance to it, right? There's a balance of enjoy the moment but put away something for tomorrow, right? Where people go wrong is they start to either go towards the fear side, but also you can become over optimistic about aging. Oh, I'm gonna get older, but I know people usually run out of money, but not me. I'm Nana. Everybody likes me. And when you get older, you realize all those people are dead. The new generation don't even know the fuck you are. And now you broke by your like that's the game we're playing. It's like we're over optimistic because we think not for me. You know what I mean? Not for me. I'm gonna start my own clothing company. Well, how many clothing companies work? Maybe 2%. But I'm different this time. Why are you different? And you can't tell me anything different about your plan. Nothing different about your market approach. Nothing different about your relationship to your customer. Nothing different about your marketing solutions. Nothing different about your logistics. Nothing different about your source of income, your source of money. But it's gonna work out for me. That's the inside view. Next slide.
That's fine.
By the way, that looked like Marlin to me. Go back to the other picture. Go back real quick. That looked like Marlin to me for some reason. So go next slide.
A vast range of professionals commonly lean on the inside view to make important decisions with predictably poor results.
This is so common. Go ahead.
This is not to say these decision makers are negligent, naive, or malicious.
So real quick, inside view is deeper than your intelligence. It has to do with your morals. It doesn't even have anything to do with your lack of attention. It's an optimism problem. You didn't realize that's just how I make most of my money? It's because most people have inside view problems. They can't see the outside view. And guess what Fight Team Media is often? We're often the drop ship of outside views, landing. That's how we make most of our money. Because, matter of fact, do you realize that all of us should have sources of outside views? Keep going, Shakina.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Encourage. Get it?
My computer.
Oh, well, while you work on
clicked out.
you got it? Okay, I get it for why you work on it. Yeah. Encouraged by the three illusions, most believe that they are making the right decisions and have faith that the outcome will be satisfactory. So a lot of times when people are making business decisions, when you have inside view, you're making assumptions and you have faith that the outcome will be satisfactory, right? It's the same shrug. Like I just believe what we're working on is going to be successful. And God forbid if your inside view has somebody charismatic or have a huge vocabulary attached to it. A lot of fancy words will make an inside view seem like it's a plan from God, when it's just an internal bias. Next slide.
Corporate mergers and acquisitions, M&M, are a multi-trillion-dollar global business year in and year out. Corporations spend vast sums identifying, acquiring, and integrating companies in order to gain a strategic edge. There is little doubt that companies make deals with the best of intentions. The problem is that most deals don't create value for the shareholders of the acquiring company. Shareholders of the companies that are bought do fine on average. In fact, researchers estimate that when one company buys another, the acquiring company's stock goes down roughly 2/3 of the time.
So a company buys another company, and they suggest by buying another company. Now, by the way, there's rules, so it's not equal data across the board. But in on a larger corporate scale, when companies acquire another company, usually a company that's acquiring another company takes a stock hit. Aren't there a whole bunch of smart people in the room with lawyers, accountants, mathematicians, acquisitions, people with acquisition making a decision and they still make bad decisions? I remember I sat on a team one time and we were working on a big project. And I watched the team. Now, mind you, I tried to pull the owner of the company. This company, the owner had a $300 million company, and he hired our team and about 6 other teams. And I watched them start to develop an inside view. And I pulled the owner aside and told him, hey, listen, man, this view and idea that we have is running away with it, and the only person who can validate it is us. We're almost like everybody was just slapping each other on the back and validating. And you had some very powerful titles in the room. Well, can I say the project went really, really bad? And when I went to the owner to say, I told you so, do you realize he didn't even remember me telling him that this was a bad idea? Because when you're in the inside view, the illusion is so strong, they can't hear even when you tell them it's a bad idea. They think, yeah, but inconsequential what you just said. You see what I just said? Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But, Nana, you don't see, come on, Nana. Huh? So whether you know it or not, a lot of times, or let's say, let's be closer to home. Let's make an assumption. Did anybody see the racketeering in the Rico case for Diddy actually working on the outside? Anybody? I didn't see one lawyer going, yeah, it's kind of RICO. Everybody's like, I don't see RICO. His own defense team said, I'm not going to call nobody. If y'all think this shit is RICO, we need to rewrite this law. This ain't no goddamn RICO and racketeering. Right? What inside view caused the government to hire lawyers to raid a man's house and put his kids in handcuffs? This not defending Diddy, because I get why people don't like him. Because any man that beats a woman, hey, nobody respects that. I don't think nobody I know says, yeah, sometimes you gotta knock him out. Like, I don't know anybody that's cool with that, right? But the reality is that the way they prosecuted this case, do y'all see how the inside view? There's some intel. If you read the profile of the lawyers who participated in this process, those weren't weak ass lawyers. There weren't like five and dime lawyers or what's that? EBT lawyers and none of that shit, right? These were some real ass lawyers. What happened? Right? Their education, their previous successes did not override the inside view. The inside view is so fucking dangerous. Do not fool yourself that your intelligence and your previous wins will guarantee you a win against your inside view. Next slide.
The plural of antidote is not evidence.
So, okay. Josh, you hear that? The plural of antidotes.
Here.
It's not evidence. Make it real simple. Antidotes are not evidence. This is what Tone, before he departed from us, antidotes are not evidence. Those of you who are teaching basics, when's the last class I taught antidotes are not evidence? How many classes have I taught that? Anybody? You remember class I taught antidotes are not evidence? Josh, you remember class since you've been with me just as long as Shakina? Have you ever taught antidotes is not evidence? Scott, you're a thinker. You remember any time I taught antidotes not evidence? Okay, just out of eating? Where you at? He's snacking? Okay, don't worry about it. He's okay, I would say, okay, yes. Well, send him a text. I know you had In-N-Out burger. Ask him if I ever taught antidote is not evidence, right? Where am I going with this? Here's another lesson for you guys that I've taught. Like the other 90% shit I've taught this year, I've never taught before. Here's another opportunity to learn something new again for those of you who are been around for a little while. Antidotes is not evidence. Let's get into this, Shakina. Let's read it.
A few years ago, my father was diagnosed with late-stage cancer.
Mm-hmm.
After the chemotherapy failed, he was basically out of options.
Mm-hmm.
One day, he called seeking my advice. He had read a magazine advertisement about an alternative cancer treatment that claimed near miraculous results and pointed to a website full of glowing testimonies. If he sent me the information, would I tell him what I thought?
Pause. How did Steve Jobs die?
He refused cancer treatments until it was too late.
Antidotal, right? What was the sister that was on 106 Park who just died? The lady who hosted 106. She just, huh? Amanda Lewis, yeah. You know how she just died? She died from same thing. She tried to treat her cancer naturally. Antidotal. How many of you guys are voting because of antidotal? Anybody knows what antidotal is? Who knows what antidotal is?
Isn't it like
Huh?
a story you buy into?
Huh?
Isn't it like a story that you buy into? Like an antidote is like a story that you tell yourself, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, but no, yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
It's a singular occurrence that makes a point. So it's like, I know a guy who got his windows broken last Tuesday. So every Tuesday, they come around, they break the windows.
I know this girl lost weight from doing this. Matter of fact, this is why I hate you guys' industry so much. It's full of antidotes. Mm-hmm. It's just, the research is so poor. So I heard, and then you guys will put, what happens is you guys will do it. It starts with an antidote, and then somebody puts scientific terms to validate the antidote, and now it's seen like it's science when it was nothing but an antidote. I know somebody who lost weight because they did da-da-da-da-da. And science says, and then there's a proof and there's some research, and so you look at the dopamine and da-da-da-da-da, you're like, oh, what? No, that shit don't work. If you take the creatine with the this and this and this, shit don't work, dog. Cut it out. It's anecdotal. But no one sits down and go, hey, how do we separate anecdotal from science? How do we separate anecdotal from contextual data. How do you separate those two? So a lot of times, plural, I know a guy is no form of science. So I mean, how many of us have went on anecdotal diets? How many of us have made anecdotal choices in many things in our life because somebody says who is influential, this is what you should do. You realize how many business books are written with an anecdotal undertone? Tone just walked in here and said, I sent you guys an article. I meant to send you guys an article where here's a guy who didn't give a shit about none of this shit. And he made it. I know a guy who never read anything and he's successful. Anecdotal. Why are we doing this? And this is common conversation. Come on, man. Y'all go to a festival, fair, to parties. That's all people do is give anecdotal advice. You know, if you mix some little sugar tablets with aspirin and you drink some water and you take a nap, I promise you it's gonna make you stronger. What? Like the level of shit that people come up with in anecdotal suggestions are so crazy. And now let me tell you how I respond to that. So I'm at a party and somebody, makes the sugar with the water, take a nap. I'd be like, oh, that's deep, bro. All right, man, I'm gonna work on that shit. Meaning, the first thing I bring was like, throw that shit in the trash as soon as you walk away from this brother. Now, I won't insult you, but just know I ain't fucking with you. Let's go.
It didn't take long to do the research.
So mind you, his father called him and says, I'm going to spend some money. I'm dying of cancer. And I found out about these alternative solutions. And I'm about to cash out, son. What do you think? His son says, I don't know what to tell my father because my father is now committed to this anecdotal solution. Do you realize how some people have this emotional connection to it? And when you attack the antidote, they feel attacked. I can't talk to you because you're too sensitive about your antidote. So he says, when he did research, because most of the time when people have antidotes, they never did the research. And he said it didn't even take him long to find the truth. Some of y'all can just grab ChatGPT. Is this true that ChatGPT would say, what the fuck? No. That's Donna's version of ChatGPT, right? But the reason many of us can't get past, too many of us are even guarded in protecting our antidotes. Well, I know this one dude, he would never lie to me. It doesn't matter if he would never lie to you. It's an antidote. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No well-constructed studies had shown the treatment's efficacy. And the evidence in favor of approach amounted to a collection of antidotes. Mm-hmm. When my father called back, I could hear in his voice that his mind was made up. Despite the substantial cost and taxing travel, he wanted to pursue this long shot alternative. When he asked me what I thought, I told him. I try to think like a scientist, and based on everything I see, this won't work.
Now, mind you, telling your dying father who believes the antidote, Dad, this not going to work. Do you realize that most people spend the most money on Medicare in their dying years? So it's this thing like if you have money in the family and I drop $60,000, $100,000 that I could have gave to you and I spent that $100,000 on an antidote. And the company who sold it to me goes like, yeah, we had this one lady and she survived. And this other lady, she survived. No context, by the way. It's just content. Yeah. See, most antidotes is content without context. See how I just brought the basics back? You see how I'm talking about this anecdotal thing? But we're just refining the basics? Let's keep rolling.
Hanging up the phone, I felt torn. I wanted to believe the story and go with the inside view. I wanted my father to be well again. But the scientist in me admonished me to stick with the outside view. Even considering the power of the placebo effect, hope is not a strategy.
What is not a strategy?
Hope is not a strategy.
Oh. Josh said he's dropping out. Let me say this real quick. Do you see how weighted this stuff you're learning is? I want to bet you, and I'm going to be an asshole now. It's my turn to be an asshole. Tone, you taught me well.
Hey, yo.
Okay, yeah, good one. But let me be. Fuck you, Scott.
Hey, yo.
enough assholes going on.
I'm willing to bet that most of the people who take this class who are struggling financially don't like this hard shit, this weighted shit. They want the quick, fast shit. I'm willing to bet that the people who are struggling in this class, who are not getting the numbers they want, don't have the focus, haven't developed the focus power to sit and go through this process and extract what they need to move to the next level. I want to bet that this portion of the class is where people start to get distracted and start to wash dishes or get in conversations or answer the phone. Because this shit I'm talking right now is actually, like, if you just learn this principle around antidotes alone, you can start to analyze and audit most of your assumptions. Remember that thing I talked about, assumptions? Anybody remember that assumption class? Some of y'all might didn't pay attention to that either. But you don't realize how assumptions override your intelligence all the time. Because a lot of times your intelligence will validate your assumptions. And often what started the process was your relationship to an antidote. Because you had hope, desire, pain, or some emotion that created psychological distortion that gave the antidote fire, velocity. But I bet you. I just want to bet that. I just want to bet. Huh? All right, next slide.
Are antidotes more important than antidotes? While it's good for patients to be informed and engaged, they run the risk of being influenced by sources that rely predominantly on antidotes, including friends, family, the internet, and mass media.
So mind you, did you just see what he just said? That when we're trying to be informed, do you realize a lot of us are being informed by antidotes? You realize that, okay, information is around you all the time, but what do you need for you to take ownership of that information? You have to have a trusted what? Source, right? How do we create trust? We use what? Antidotes. We'll say, look, you know who I am, man. And I know a person. And then we go, at that point, we'll run and we'll pump out this assumption or this antidote. Not antidote. And as we pump out this assumption, we don't realize it's not just you. Did y'all watch when presidents run for office? They said, I met this guy in Milwaukee at a cafe.
Right.
And he said to me,
Right.
President, one guy, and y'all will be like, oh, that's phenomenal. Antidotes. Right? Let's use another example. Let's say
Joe the plumber.
Joe the plumber. That's it. Yeah, Joe the plumber. Let's say a doctor says to you, I was talking to my doctor, and I started auditing my doctor to find out what she did not know. Because I don't take a title as all-knowing. See, I don't worship people. Some of us worship people. So if somebody says, I'm a doctor, you're like, oh, you're a doctor? God has spoken to you to understand doctors? Right? But somebody says, I'm a doctor. How was the French fries? Anyway, so you say yourself, you better automatically make this assumption that the person's a doctor. So I started to have questions. I started to ask my doctor questions around exercising and taking care of the body. I realized she didn't own that. But all this time, she had been giving me advice until I actually started to ask her certain questions to say, let's validate your antidotes. You know, my husband did this, and this is why your husband. Tell me about your husband. What race is he? What's his size? What has been his average size? How the fuck is this relevant to me again? Antidotes.
That was so easy.
Right? Aren't we all different, right? Like everybody's different, right? Some people are size 1 and some people are size 22. The variation is all over the place. So you tell me the same, or some people are 17 and some people are 75. You tell me the same workout and same diet works for everybody? So how in the fuck are we using these antidotes of, yeah, this worked for my cousin? You know how many variations and variables that are in your cousin that doesn't apply to me? You see where I'm going with this? This is important because when you start moving in the business world, you're making decisions and you don't realize they're heavily influenced by antidotes. You realize you're not thinking. You're just copying and pasting ideas you think they're going to work and go, oh shit, you're just gambling with ideas. Antidotes. Keep going.
While it's good for patients to be informed and engaged, they run the risk of being influenced by sources that rely predominantly on anecdotes, including friends, family, the internet, and mass media. Doctors might find anecdotes to be an effective way of getting their points across to patients.
So we use anecdotes to get our points across all the time. We all use it. We all use anecdotes. Man, Court just did it last week. So you know what you should do as an anecdote. Court did it last week, but yeah, and so many variables. And there's also variables on the solution that responded to his actions to create the outcome. So I can't take Court tried it, so why don't you try it? That's a bad anecdote. Go ahead.
But doctors and patients should be careful not to lose sight of the scientific evidence.
And this is this is where malpractice happens all the time. Because doctors get caught up with anecdotes, and then you listen to anecdotes, and some of you are suffering, dying, aging fast, all kind of stuff that's happening to you because you took the antidote from a doctor, then you reinforced that antidote with your belief, then you took it home and told your family, and now the whole family is infected by a horrible antidote. Next slide.
On time and within budget. You will be familiar with this example if you have ever been part of a project, whether it involved renovating a house, introducing a new product, or meeting at work a work deadline. People find it hard to estimate how long a job will take and how much it will cost.
Okay, pause. Y'all see that game? Did y'all catch that game? Shakina, remember you said my contractor lied to me? He didn't. He can't tell you the truth.
Oh, me.
It's not a thing. Oh, I paid this guy. He told me it's going to take 3 months. You didn't look at the outside view and see how long it usually takes? And somebody says, oh, no, it usually takes 2 years. Well, he says he can pull it off because he said it doesn't, not for me, though. I could do it in 3 months.
You better figure that shit.
And it's, mind you, he didn't lie to you. He's suffering from a bias. Many of you guys are putting money into the field thinking this is going to respond, and these things are going to happen. I'm moving this money around, and then all of a sudden your vendors start fucking your business over because you didn't see that they're a victim of this distortion of the inside view. Outside view says if I hire somebody to build a certain space and I look online, I spend some time, and they say, oh, this usually takes 8 months. And dude says, oh yeah, we have it done in 2 weeks. He's optimistic because he feels this one time I did it in 2 weeks. And everything worked perfectly, so I don't get to do it for you in 2 weeks if you just don't fuck it up. Traffic alone fucks it up. this shit fucks it up. So when you plan with other human beings, are you taking consideration that they're suffering from inside view trying to make a promise to you? And do you build a plan with your resources, your time and attention, accommodating their inside view distortion? You see what just happened there? I'm giving you some cold ass vendor management, relationship management, employee management game that when you're planning with other people, stop saying what they should, because guess what should says, which is a kind of distortion. Yeah, remember that? That's basics, right? Should, I'll make sure it's kind. Should is a kind of distortion. It's not really a thing. Okay. So when you say people should do this, you're distorted because you don't understand human behavior, which is they're suffering from this mental bias of an inside view. Now, rationally, you're right. Human-wise, you fucked up. So now if I come in and be like, no, it's your fault. You're like, how dare you? Now you attacking me for his fucked up ass? See, look at the outcome. No, because you don't understand that he has a planning fallacy. You see how this game works? How your educated intelligence and your mathematical equation thinking self can't see that this human being has a psychological distortion that creates a distortion. So when they told you inside view, they were being honest, they weren't being malicious, they weren't trying to manipulate you, they weren't even trying to trick you or anything like that. Now you cussing this person out who still get the job done. But you didn't plan your resources, your time, none of your moves right. And now you burn your relationship with this person that could be a long-term partner in your future ventures, right? But you didn't understand that they didn't have the ability to make that call. And you're like, I need to know this because I set a budget up. But so if it goes one day passes, I'm gonna destroy. It's gonna destroy everything. Well, that's the kind of planning you have. You don't have enough slack built into that. You're just about to lose your business because you don't understand how shit works. How shit works. No, not how the math works. How shit just works. Ain't that some cold shit? Go ahead, Scott.
I have a question. This might be a stupid question, but when we think about the planning fallacy, are we just thinking about time, or are we also thinking about like sequence of things that could happen, right? So, example, talking to somebody today, they're pissed at their potential client because the client gave them a short notice on an expectation that they had discussed further, but then the timeline got moved up, and now this guy is frustrated because the client changed the timeline. Does that fall into planning fallacy too, or is that like a different thing?
So the natural response to this inside view is that people have natural distortions. Mm-hmm. So why are you sensitive? Right. Why are you rigid? Right. Why are you not automatically equating slack in all your planning when it comes to working with other human beings? That's the way you move in that space, right? When I see people getting mad, upset, pissed off, shrinking people, cutting people loose, cussing people out, talking about complainers, I can't believe these people are always running late. It's not personal, dog. It's called.
For me, I was like, this opportunity, you can be like, well, it's late. I might have to charge you a little extra. Just turn around, need a rush charge.
Well, the thing is that, yeah, there's cases where I could charge you more. There's cases where I just automatically assume you're not going to be able to meet this deadline you said, and I just bake that into my understanding. Yeah. And then I am already, because I've already planned that. When I show grace to you, you just think like, oh my God, thank you for accommodating me. Yeah. I planned this, dog. I knew you was not going to be able to make that deadline. I know this shit. And if I'm the head of the company, think about you spending millions of dollars building shit out. And then you have rigid planning. Then you want to blame the reason your company fails because of the vendor. Now, the reason your company failed because you didn't realize how inside view and outside view work, and that the people you're hiring are all distorted. And so you built so much slack to the point that it looks smooth to the outside world, but when you made your plans, you plan assuming that most of the people won't meet the deadline. Most people are going to fuck up. Some of these people are going to like, it's like, there's so many things that are unintentional behind human behavior that we don't want to equate that, because what we want is perfection, because we're too what? Optimistic. Going back to what I've been talking about earlier. You're so optimistic and you think nothing's going to happen to you. You fuck it up in your planning. You're too rigid. Your rigidity now backfires on you being pissed off because you didn't know how to plan and manage the situation. Like when I had big projects and I needed everybody to be on time, time started an hour to hour and a half early. Mm-hmm. And I would talk about the hour and a half early like it was the time. I never let them know. They might be like, yeah, well, I had to get here because the person wanted me here this time. They didn't want me there this time. I just want to make sure that when your car broke down, you had to catch your Uber. Mm-hmm. When you overslept, you cool. But in the end, I got the right people on the job. I know that when they get there, they're going to perform. But if imagine if I told you the right time and then you guys missed the time by 15, 30, 45 minutes, I'm embarrassed in front of clients. Now I'm stressed out. My creativity just dropped, and everybody takes a loss.
Bar. Mm-hmm. That's a bar.
I'm trying to give these, like, I'm trying to give you all this game for $9.99. Come on, man.
Hey, man, that's like $9 more than what I'm used to paying, man.
Come on. Like, once you guys understand, like, if radical responsibility means everything fall on you, it's how you move to make sure that you control the outcome. Realizing that you're working with imperfection to create perfection. Thank you. Keep going, Sheena.
Kaja says she got a question, but she ain't dropped it yet.
Okay, drop it when you're ready, Kaja. Drop the. I didn't mean it like that, Kaja. Just drop the question when you're ready for the question. Go ahead, Sheena. Go ahead.
When they are wrong, they usually underestimate the time and expense. Mm-hmm. Psychologists call this the planning fallacy. Mm-hmm. Here again, the inside view takes over, as the majority of people imagine how they will complete the task. Only about 1/4 of the population incorporates the base rate data either from their own experiences or from that of others while laying out planning timetables.
So when you plan, you're looking for base rate data. What usually happens in these scenarios? Anything outside of that is just you being optimistic. Period. Keep going.
Bueller and his collaborators asked college students how long it would take to complete a school assignment with 3 levels of chance: 50, 75, and 99%. For example, a subject might say that there were 50% chance that they would finish the project by the next Monday, a 75% chance he'd be done by Wednesday, and a 99% chance by Friday.
Now this is cold. So they asked college students, and they pretty much came out this number that if the project's due on Monday, 50% chance I'll be on time. They said, but if it's done by Wednesday, it's 75% chance, 75% chance I'd be on time. And if it's by Friday, it's a 90% chance I'm good. Next slide.
When the deadline arrived, for which the students had given themselves a 50% chance of finishing, only 13% actually turned in their work. At the point when the students thought there was 75% chance they'd be done, just 19% had completed the project. All the students were virtually sure they'd be done by the final date, but only 45% turned out to be right. While
y'all see the disparity in the numbers of what people thought and how they really showed up? Yeah, if you give me by this day, I know. Come on, 45 days? Man, you give me. I'm 90% chance on by Friday. I'm good. Only half of those made it. Half of that percentage made it. Meaning that's a natural planning fallacy of everything around you. A lot of times you're like, oh, black people and the Negro time and oh my God, you're doing too much. No, it's not a Negro time. It's called human inside view versus outside view, and everybody's being too optimistic. Go ahead.
While people are notoriously poor at guessing when they'll finish their own projects,
This is important.
they're pretty good at guessing about other people.
So there you go. That's the power right there. You're poor at even guessing your own. But when you're in a role of hiring other people, you're usually pretty good at guessing other people's timeline. Mashama's excellent. Like Mashama's cold. I can say, yo, man, we can get this shit done in 2 weeks. Mashama be like, yo, no, that's going to be at least a month and a half. And I'd be like, man, no fucking way gonna take no month and a half. I fall victim to this. And my business partner would say, and we'll go through the process, and a month and a half later, we finishing the project. I'm like, this is a motherfucker. But mind you, when he worked on his own deck, ask him how long, I don't think that deck is still finished. That's a planning fallacy. Our own ability to see our own is bad, but to see others is where our strength comes from. This is why when we want to make a big investment and time is part of it, you want to start talking to people, especially people who've done the same thing, and get some insight and then build on the base rate. I don't give a shit what the vendor promised you. Look at that base rate. Keep going.
In fact, the planning fallacy embodies a broader principle. When people are forced to look at similar situations and see the frequency of success, they tend to predict more accurately.
So when you see other people's successes and times, you predict a lot more accurately. Go ahead.
The reason is most people think of themselves as different and better than those around them.
Real quick, stop. Do you realize everybody in this room think you're better than, most of y'all think you're better than most people? Everybody in this room does. It's just almost like part of the way your brain works as a human being. You don't escape it. I don't give a shit how earthly you are. Matter of fact, I would tell you that if you are activist of any type, you think you're probably better than most people. That's a distortion. Let me say this again. Most of us think we're better than, and we're all distorting ourselves, which means we make worse decisions because we think we're better. The more humble you can become, remember we said humble is a superpower? It improves your decision making. Remember that? Isn't that basic, right? We taught that basic. This kind of basic, it's refining the basis of humility, which is humility is a superpower. So if you practice humility, that means you can bring down that optimism, which means that you can avoid a lot of the planning fallacies. Now, when you start a business, what's this thing you write up called, Shakina? It's called a business what?
I think it's called a business plan.
Business plan, right. But what happens when you write a business plan and you're too optimistic?
That shit fails.
Oh, word?
Word.
Is that basics though, right?
Bet.
Yeah, okay. Damn, this shit's good. That's cold. Next slide.
Now that you're aware of how the inside-outside view influences the way people make decisions, you'll see it everywhere.
Keep going.
In the business world, it will show up as unwarranted optimism for how long it takes to develop a new product, the chance that a merger deal succeeds, and the likelihood a portfolio of stocks will do better than the market.
Hey, there was a student, alumni, that was sat in this class for 2-3 years who had a good job. Had a good job. I'll never call his name. As close as you're going to get is him. Him over there. You know that man quit his job and said, I think Court was part of the team at the time. Court, he said, hey, I quit my job, so I'll start my business. How long do you think it's going to take for my business to get off the ground?
Play up.
I was like, oh, shit. Ooh. I promise you I backed up like I didn't know what to say. But he literally quit. He was getting paid good money, had a good job position, and quitted his job to become an entrepreneur and said it should get off the ground at this point. I've seen people get fired and say, you know what, I'm going to do the entrepreneur thing now. How long do you think it's going to take me before I start turning a nice profit? Inside view versus outside view.
Whoa.
Hey man, you know what? I just dropped 10 G's on this guy who's gonna run a company, and I believe in him. I think this is gonna be a great day. How long do you think before I get a return on my investment? Inside view versus outside view.
Whoa.
I want y'all to see how cold this shit is. When people, you know what? I'm gonna work at this school for a little bit longer, but next year I'm gonna start my own business.
I mean, in fairness, when I first opened Pinpoint, I thought I was going to have 3 locations by the second.
Oh, I remember you told me.
So.
She asked me, she had just went from $7,500 a month to her first space. So she's making $7,500 just freelancing, going to different people's houses, bringing home about $7,500 a month. I remember this. I remember talking about your numbers. She just opened Pinpoint. Her floor, I walked in her place, I was like, yo, this carpet's trash. Her homemade matte floor will always break apart. And I was like, her window. Now her logo was clean, but her window was dirty. And she had a lot of entry level equipment. Like you go to the gym now, she has a lot of nice, but she had like China's best,
Timu's best.
And guess what she did? You know what she said? Yeah. So by next year, I should have my second spot open. I looked at her, I said, no, you just work on this one first right now. You need to work on this one first. God, let me pray for you. You got to work on this one first.
The look on Nana's face when he walked in that door. Oh.
But her optimism was on steroids. Huh? Sarah Tony was up there. Huh? She was like, yeah, I'm about to blow this motherfucker up. Right? I'm telling y'all, this is how cold the game is. People are literally planning right now to make a single decision that's going to take them over the top. Tell me if that's not a planning fallacy. Go ahead.
I just want to say, I mean, like, I can laugh at it now because I also feel like the beauty of it is I have so much more grounded ownership of the way that I make decisions and think about things now. But had I got some of these concepts earlier and pushed my ego aside, I would have multiple locations by now. And so for like all the people that are like shooting themselves in the foot, like feeling bad about themselves, like this is not a space to validate that voice. This is a thing to say, yo, like when I made the comment that I'm studying these basics like my growth depends on it, because it does. That was such an accurate statement, because it is the difference between crawling and sprinting is the level of ownership. So it's not like good, bad, right, or wrong. Like Court said, running my own race. I had to figure out, I had to have ownership. I had to say, this is what I want to do and how I want to do it. And the decisions that I made and didn't make kept me in the spaces until I changed my decisions and changed the way I thought about things. But I think it's important to frame that you're gonna grow at the rate that you allow yourself to grow. And if you're growing slow, it is because you're allowing yourself to grow slow. And when you change that you want to grow faster, you get yourself out of the way.
Let me expand on that a little bit too. 'Cause I don't disagree with what you said. Let me expand on that. This is a lesson I learned 3 years ago. This is 3 years ago. and I'm still perfecting it, but I love the results of how it's changed my life. I'm using this in advice giving advice. I want to say, and I might be falsely speaking, I want to say Court owned this lesson before I owned this lesson. If I'm giving you advice and I see where you are, and I'm able to identify where you are, I would tell you your mistakes are not part of the process. You got to go through the process to get there. So as a father, it's made me a hell of a father. So like my son does stupid shit, but it's stupid shit to me. I'm 58, about to be 58 this year. It's stupid shit to me. For a 19-year-old, it's the process. So can I give him the emotional grace to experience the process and realize that that's part of the growth, the stupidity, the learning, the stupidity, the falling, the stupidity, the growth, the slow polishing, the lessons, all that has to happen. To try to change it through optimism, personal optimism for you, projected optimism, is not letting the process unfold, which means you may miss the lesson because I'm pushing you when you need just to have in fact, I may create a distortion that turns into something personal between me and you when really you just need to go through the process. So that means as a family leader, I got to bite my lip till blood is running down my face because sometimes you just got to have the process. And you might say to me, why did you tell me? Because if I had told you, you couldn't have heard me. Because a certain amount of things that had to happen for your ears to even open up to hear the words that's coming out of my fucking mouth. Otherwise, you would just say, you're judging me. How dare you? Oh my God, you're sexist. Oh my God, you're homophobic. Oh my God, you just too black for my... shut the fuck up. The reality is that the process is necessary. So a lot of times when you're working with the public and working with other people and working with your own kids, your family, if you're a parent and you have the privilege of becoming the wise member of your family, because every family has a wise member. Realize you got to be able to hold people's processes. That means you have to be able to hold their imperfections and not announce to them there's their imperfections. You got to watch them run off that cliff. No, they're not going to die, but they're going to hurt themselves. And you have to say, okay, well, hey, let me know when you got the cliff.
Hey, this reminds me of a situation. I had a close friend, and he was in this super toxic relationship. Bad, like it was really bad. Like all the things you can think of. Mm-hmm. So he one day asked me for my advice for lunch. I said, hey man, you asking me for my advice? Yeah. I broke it down to him. This is you are in a toxic relationship. Horrible. She toxic, you toxic. So you got to get out because you can't see. Get the fuck out. And he was like, you're right. I know what I need to do. So 3 days later.
Proposes.
So I'm standing there like, oh, hi. Congratulations. Because, and I stopped giving advice because now I feel dumb. So those are the situations where I've been an idiot like that too, and the person had to just let me go through the pain and then come out the other side.
Hey, Black people, what's the famous word? If you like it,
I love it.
I love it.
Shit. I used to give that advice so many times. Well, shit, if you like it, I love it. And I'm out because in the end, the process is, I'm not God. I don't try to get in front of God, and nor do I see another man as God. I let God have his way. And God says sometimes, yo, you're going to have to take a couple lumps on the head for you to say, yo, it don't make no sense.
Kaja asked her question.
Okay, go ahead.
Kaja asked, even if you can't meet a deadline or if you assume people will have missteps, communication lapses make it where you can't even manage the gaps. How can you accommodate if accommodate info you don't have?
No one has. There's no stored info. No one has a bank of knowledge. It's knowing something's wrong here. Like, if I'm planning with anybody for any services, okay, let's say Alam, she does fashion, right? So she says, Nana, I'm going to dress 5 women for you. And on these 5 women, It's gonna be for this big banquet. And how much time? And I say, how much time will you need to dress these women? She said, I can have them dressed in 2 hours. I'm already gonna call somebody and be like, hey, listen, anybody else know any other designers that's dressed for this event? What's the typical time? I may even call event planners. Hey, what's the typical time this usually take? Oh, it usually takes 5 hours. Perfect. Cool, 2 hours. But when I go to sign the paper, make that 5 hours, please. So when she's late and she comes in at 4, that's amazing to me. She comes at 5. Yeah, that's what we thought. She's like, I'm so sorry, Nana. My bad. I really tried 2 hours, but then Lisa wasn't ready, and her hair. Oh my God, you didn't see how nappy her hair was, and da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, you know. But guess what? Guess who's mellow?
You.
Me. Guess who's still running shit? Me. Guess who win with my client? Me. Where people go wrong, Kaja, is they take the promises of the vendors and the partnerships as word is bond and then build slack to protect your own brand. Y'all guys see where I'm going with this? When you build slack to protect your own brand, your shit looks smooth. It's not like, what's it called, a baton type handoffs in business is stupid because everybody don't run the same speed. And what you anticipate their speed will be quite often lacks from their promise. What they promise they can do and what they're really gonna do, it's two different things. In our office, if your project is due on Friday, Mashama wants a project by Wednesday night. He don't want it Friday. Because we've already had a scenario where Saturday morning some client got a project. Get it to me Wednesday night. Well, you know why Wednesday night is important also? Because if you fucked up or you misinterpreted something, we got between Wednesday and Friday to work between us to get it fixed. But if you show up exactly on Friday, even show up on Friday because you hit the deadline, you rush to get to the line, and you miss some areas, now my brand is victimized by my inside view and my planning policies. It's on me.
Bars.
Y'all see the kind of game I'm giving y'all, how all this planning shit is, you got to take consideration real world delays and distractions, and you got to get a base rate. So Kaja, you have to get the base rate exists independent of the contract you're doing. If somebody says, I can do this in certain amount of days, I don't care what your promise is. What is the typical amount of time? And then I'm gonna build my plan around the base rate. And from that base rate, that gives me a sense of control. And even if I can, I even add more. The more slack you can add, the more you control the perception. Because we're talking about human beings. Remember, because this is where it's dope about human beings. This is all psychology. I can't sell you shit if I don't know what drives you. I can't sell you shit. Just because I made it, I can have orange juice on a hot day. If I don't get the people I'm trying to talk to, I can sell 0 orange juices on a hot day.
Everybody wants lemonade.
Huh?
Incentives.
But it's so many of them, right? It's psychology. It's all psychology. So a lot of times when we're doing business with clients, we're trying to protect the client's what? Experience. But when your planning is too rigid and your thinking is incorrect, a lot of times you will unintentionally, here's a word, unintentionally destroy your relationship with your client because you didn't understand the principles of how to get shit done. Isn't that cold? And then you want to tell me, I lost my business because Scott, he fucked up this paper. No, Scott didn't fuck up the paperwork. You didn't know the plan for Scott's collaboration.
Never trust the white man.
God damn you. Let's finish this. This is the last one. We're going out of here. Let's just close this one out. Let's finish this paragraph, then we're going on.
In your personal life, you'll see it in the parents who believe their 7-year-old is destined for a college sports scholarship, debates about what impact video games have on kids, and the time and cost it will take to remodel a kitchen.
Wow. That's inside views. So inside views like when you plan for your child. Inside view could be your political views. That's the inside view. These are all distortions. Mm-hmm. You know, Trump, he's like Hitler. How many Hitlers, what's the chance of him being like Hitler based on base rate? None. Can we stop saying that stupid shit? Like when you start seeing how much base rate is being, poor anecdotal thinking and inside view thinking is poisoning so many things around us. And so many of us think we're brilliant because we can repeat other people's anecdotes. Not realizing we're not speaking from a scientific tone, we're speaking from a cultural anecdotal tone. That's a big difference. They both sound scientific to the dumb blind person, but those of us we have stake in the game, you need to separate the two. Scientific thinking and anecdotal thinking can sound exactly the same. If you tell me it's tied to serotonin, I won't fucking know. I don't put needles and pull out blood. Be like, yeah, I measure serotonin. Yeah, you're about right. That's about right. Right. So at some point, because even when I brought serotonin to this class, and I learned this little way, do you know how many hours I spent studying serotonin just to make the points? Because it's not just serotonin by itself; it's dopamine and other chemicals that combine with serotonin that create the leader's full ambiance, right? But serotonin is in all the points that I made part of the equation, right? I could have easily came in here, which I've seen a lot of business leaders quote dopamine and what's the other one? There's another one, cortisol and all these other different things they quote as part of our behavior motivators. And then later on you find out you guys just taking antidotes. You don't know shit about these things. They're taking the time to research it. You just copy that when Scott said it to a group of people, everybody applauded, so now you're saying it to a group of people. That's it. And so now you guys run out and start telling your friends that shit. Now the whole community is validating this antidote as if it's science. And there's a lot of them in our community. A lot of them. A lot of fucking antidotes in our community that we believe in that are anti-business. So when we start running a business, we're running a business holding on to all these inside view antidotes. And then we wonder why we're not performing. It's not the world we're in. It's the way we're approaching information in this world. So in conclusion, even people who should know better forget to consult the outside view. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a good class tonight. Thank you, Court, for that dope questioning session to show people. You know when I used to teach photography? Remember I used to do what remember the basics we used to go over? You guys remember?
Yeah, the exposure triangle.
Yeah, exposure triangle. And I would ask, and how many classes did I have to ask before everybody was able to answer that question correctly?
1 million classes.
You still did, even afterwards.
Remembers it.
Yeah.
Remembers it.
Yes. But a lot of people like we was go over to every class
Every
and get in
class.
every class, and every class somebody would get it wrong.
Yes.
Every class. After fucking a year or so.
In frame, we had to do the same thing.
Same thing.
3 years straight. In frame.
Huh? The exposure, shutter speed, aperture, and ISO.
He's messing with you.
Oh, okay. But the thing is that we had to go through this over and over and over, and like, what does the shutter speed do? What does aperture? What does ISO? And we're talking about people who were very cocky. Remember Rick sitting in class? He's super cocky. You were lying. No, all these. He never got the question right. It was the most cockiest person in our motherfucking class and couldn't get the basics. And if he listened, what he gonna do? He can't whoop me. Rick Humphrey cannot whoop Nana. Now what? Anyway, with that being said, y'all have a good night. Peace.